Hello and welcome everybody back to another round of the Virtual Drift Championship. Again, this is round 6, the final round of season 7 here in 2023. My name is Craig. With me as always is Tanner. What's up, dude?
Oh man, what a qualifying. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, but an amazing qualifying that we had. And unbelievable. At first we thought Poleski had it in the bag, 96.3 with 96.3. Then we have Zach O'Sullivan come at us with 96.3, and then I believe it's a 96.7. And then Alan Hines comes out with 96.3 and then a 97.3. These guys are all in the championship fight, and I think battles are just going to be absolutely insane today.
Yeah, absolutely. And a super long course. If you missed qualifying, we'll pull up the line map here. The start of that course is at the top of your screen with that little chicane there, and into clip 1, your first D-cell zone as well. So quite a bit of time that the driver gets until they pick up throttle and head towards clip 2, your first inside clip, and then out to clip 3 for your next outside zone, down into clip 4 for your next inside clip, and then out to clip 5 for your next outside zone. With these outside zones, judges want to see the drivers using those rumble strips that are on the outside, except for your next outside zone at clip 6. There's quite a bump out there on the edge of track. And then drivers need to head into their next inside clip for clip 7, transition down to clip 8 for your next D-cell zone, and quite lengthy there as well. But drivers don't need to be putting on the anchors there at clip 8. They really need to smoothen out that D-cell zone, stretch it out, pick up that throttle, and maintain that line and angle all the way from clip 8 into clip 9, your next inside clip, and then out to clip 10. And again, with these inside clips, judges want to see the drivers staying off of those in that lead position. Now, chase position can use those inside rumble strips, but again, lead needs to stay outside. And then through clip 10, using that rumble up the hill for clip 11, your next outside zone. There's a lot of them. And down into your next inside clip for clip 12. And at clip 13, you really plateau the top of the hill and then start coming back down for clip 14. Again, staying wide of those rumble strips in that lead position. Out to clip 15 on the rumble strip, and then into the last and final turn along that wall we can see there on the screen. And again, a crazy qualifying earlier today, and here is your top 32 bracket. Take a snapshot of it now. We'll pull it up in between the breaks and watch how it plays out. Unfortunately, we don't have a live bracket that everybody can follow just yet. Really kind of limited links on here, but again, we'll pull it up throughout today's event. Alan Hines and Austin Meeks are going to start us out today. Austin Meeks finally making it into the top 32. He's here. He put in a ton of practice, but now he's got to face Alan Hines, Maxime Tingai, and Austin Zalewski in the first group as well. Darius Ostreka and Jordan El Nasser, another one making it into the top 32 today. And Ernestes and Artem Cholkov to round out our first group of top 32. Super exciting stuff coming up.
Indeed, it is. Our first battle of the final round here of the Virtual Drift Championship is at the line and ready to go. Alan Hines in that lead lane in the Pro Drift Academy S15, and beside him in that wonderful Cadillac CTSV is none other than Austin Meeks. A trend that we've had all season, even though we say, the number 32 qualifier, like Austin Meeks still got a 90.7. So let's see what these two do here. Initiating in, already a gap there off the initiation to Austin Meeks towards that next outside zone. Austin starting to reel in Alan Hines there as they transition to the second half of this course. Now the big D-cell zone. Austin throws that angle in that chase position, trying to gain that proximity towards Alan Hines, and he's just staying back enough where nothing really bad can happen that might bite him if he can't get it on the door as they come through that second to last outer zone now into the wall ride. Real shallow line there from Austin Meeks in that chase position, but we'll line them up and see how they do on the second half of this battle.
Yeah, we'll take another look at it here on the replay. And as you pointed out, yeah, Austin may be playing it a little too safe there back behind Alan Hines, who we know is going to apply a ton of pressure in that chase position. But again, we'll take you through the replay here. Alan doing literally everything he needs to do in that lead position, making it very easy to chase throughout this course. And Austin doing a good job in the chase as well. Matching the line, matching the angle, using, you know, a little bit of extra of the course on those inside rumbles that he's allowed to use as well. Right there on the bumper for the last transition. Ends up quite shallow there, though. Works it back out to the outside, and there they go across the finish line.
Well, back at the start gate, they are flipped around and ready for the second half of their battle. Austin Meeks now in that lead position with Alan Hines ready to chase him down. Let's see what kind of lead run that Austin Meeks can deliver for us here. They initiate in, and right away, Alan Hines there matching the angle of Austin Meeks. Maybe a little bit of contact there as they came through that second outside clip as they come down now and transition through the second half of this course into that heavy braking zone, where they gotta not completely park the car, but they gotta keep that momentum going through it. Doing a good job so far is Alan Hines, that chase position. Austin Meeks doing a great job out front, but the proximity that Alan Hines is putting onto Austin Meeks is a lot closer there as they come into that final wall ride, and on the door goes Alan Hines to Austin Meeks, and that just might be it for this battle.
Yeah, Alan applying the pressure in that chase position. Now, Austin doing a good job in the lead, but comes up short in a couple of the areas. Really good there on outside, but cuts the line big time there for that first inside clip. Gets the next one right, uses that rumble strip on the outside zone there, opening the door for Alan, and Alan taking advantage. Now we see there Austin going a little bit wide for the inside clip after dropping a bit of tire through that decel section. They continue on up the hill. Austin now on a good line, filling the outside zone. Alan right there with him in that chase position as they continue on here. Good transition into the last and final turn, but again, Alan right there in that chase, applying the pressure. And we go to those judges for the first time today. Here in the top 32 for the final round, Alan Hines on the left, Austin Meeks on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16. And look at there, Alan Hines getting the win quickly and moving on into the top 16.
So Alan Hines getting the win over Austin Meeks, moving on into the top 16, and our next battle is at the line. Maxime Tingai in that S15, ready for his lead run. Beside him, Austin Silvestri in that JZ A80 Supra. Maxime has been on point all season long here, but so is Austin. Both these guys coming in 16th and 17th, so this will be a good battle between them as they initiate in. Austin trying to get on the door, Maxime through these first few clipping points, and on the door he is, leaving just enough room for that transition as they come to that inside clip. Now on the brakes, matching the angle, coming in, a little bobble from the chase, a little tap to the front end from the chase position as they get back on throttle, kicking up a little bit of a dirt from that lead car as they're on the door. Look at the proximity from Austin here as they come through that second to last outside zone. Now onto the wall ride. Austin keeping it pinned to the door of Maxime, trying to do everything he can in that chase position.
Yeah, applying the pressure there in that chase position. This is always one of my favorite battles between these qualifiers here, and they did not disappoint here in the first half of the battle. Maxime doing a fantastic job out front, getting out to that rumble strip. And look at there, I stood up in my seat. Austin Zalewski in that chase position right along that bumper as they make that transition. They continue on. Maxime gaining momentum up the hill there, but Austin Zalewski right there in that chase position, staying with him, staying in the pocket, matching the angle. Last and final transition, and there they are along that wall, finishing it out strong.
And now back around at the start gate and flipped around. Austin Silvestri now in that lead position with Maxime Tingai ready to chase him down. As they get off out of the start gate, lighten up those tires all the way down the straight, initiating in. Maxime on the attack in that chase position, going a little deeper into that outer zone. Austin Silvestri keeping the composure and keeping it together as they transition now into the next outer zone, down into that D-cell zone. A little bit of a gap there from Austin Silvestri to Maxime Tingai. Not as close as Austin was through this section as we come into the next outer zone, down through that inside clip. Definitely a bigger gap there from the lead driver to the chase as they come into that final outer zone. Maxime gets on the door for the final outer zone and finishes out the run.
Yeah, here we go back to the replay, this time with Austin Silvestri out front. Good run up by both of these drivers. A little bit of gap left, and then Maxime reels him in quickly. Falls off just a little bit there through that inside clip. A little bit further back here in the power alley section, sacrificing a little bit of line, but there he is, reeling him back in. And you see Austin go a little wide there for the inside clip. Ends up getting out to the outside zone a little bit early and continues on. Maxime reeling him back in down the hill. Austin doing a good job with that outside zone. Last and final transition, and Maxime reels him right back in for the last and final wall ride. There they go across that finish line, and we go to the judges. Maxime on the left, Austin Silvestri on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16, or could we see them line up again? I think Maxime's lead maybe a little bit better, but then Austin's chase was spectacular. And here we thought the longer layout would separate them out. We've got it one more time. Ed chooses Austin, and Matt also chooses Austin. Austin Silvestri gets the win and moves on into the top 16.
Austin Silvestri going on to see Alan Hines in that top 16. That'll be a good battle to see there as we wait for our next two drivers to come to the line. Darius Ostreka, who qualified 8th, up against Jordan El Nasser, who qualified 25th. It's Jordan's first time in battle, I believe, for this season. If not, he was in it once before this, but it's great to see him here. Darius Ostreka in your lead lane in that BMW, and Jordan El Nasser in that Dodge Viper. The lights go on and off we go, and underway is the battle. Lighting up those tires and initiating in is Darius Ostreka. Right with him, though, was Jordan El Nasser. Not a huge proximity there as they come through that next outside zone and leave room for the transition. Jordan trying to get the proximity onto Darius as they come into that D-cell zone, and there's the proximity, gets him on that D-cell zone through that inside clip, and now immediately loses it as the grip from the BMW in that lead lane just starts to pull away from the chase driver just a bit there as they come to the second to last outer zone. One more to go, it's the wall ride, and now the push comes from Jordan in the back and just gets it on the door before they finish it out.
Yeah, Jordan trying to bring the fight to Darius Ostreka in that chase position in that purple Viper. We take another look at it here. Darius Ostreka out front, moving along through the course nicely in turn one. Gets all the way out there to that rumble strip, leaving Jordan behind a little bit there as he works through that inside clip. Nice transition, very smooth, back on throttle early. Jordan closing the door now in that chase position. Here they go, working up the hill. Nicely done along that inside clip from Darius, doing everything he needs to do in that lead position and leaving a gap in between him and Jordan until this last and final turn. Jordan right there with him.
Well, now back around at the start gate, Jordan El Nasser will now lead them both as Darius Ostreka will chase him down. The light goes on and off they go. Clean through the gate, no restart needed. And on throttle, initiating in, right with him. Darius Ostreka on the attack in that chase position, but maybe straightening out there. Hard to see from that camera angle as they come through that outer zone and transition through the second half of the course. Now Jordan starts to get that gap built up as he comes way too hot into that D-cell zone, missing out on that inside clip. Darius trying to use that to his advantage to get back in the pocket there and catch back up to the door. Dropping some tire was Jordan El Nasser as they come through the second to last outside zone, almost touching rear bumpers there from Darius Ostreka as they come through that final outer zone on the door.
Yeah, here we go, back to the replay here. Jordan out front this time, I believe for the first time in top 32 this season and looking good out front. You see Darius wash out, have to make a big correction there in that chase position. Hard to see behind the smoke. Jordan coming up a little shallow for outside zone 3, but they continue on. Jordan making that transition, picking up throttle, but does not decel enough and opens the door right back up for Darius to reel him back in. Pouring on the angle is Jordan, but going wide for that outside zone, dropping more tires there, makes his transition for the last and final turn. Darius right there in that chase, and they go across the line. We go to the judges. Darius Ostreka on the left, Jordan L. Nasser on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16. And one judge, 2 judges for Darius Ostreka, 3 unanimous decision from all 3 of those judges. Darius Ostreka gets the win, and we'll see him in the top 16.
So Darius Ostreka filling up our next spot in the top 16 as we come to our next battle. Ernestes Yakulovis in that lead position in the S14, and warming up his tires there in the background is Artem Cholkov in that JZ A80. Both the drivers wait for that light to ignite, and on it goes, and off they go to start this battle through the gate. Ernestes off to a good start, but Artem ready to initiate there. Lots of angle thrown from that lead driver, but Artem's able to keep in check with it and get on the door of Ernestes through those first few clips as they transition now to that next inside clip and down to that decel area where we've been worried, but everyone's getting through it cleanly so far. Good proximity there from Artem as they come, dropping a bit of tire there from the lead as they go through that next outer zone and down to the second to last. Artem can get on the door of Ernestes as he hits him going into the final outside zone. Ernestes manages to stay in it with the momentum to bounce off the wall. But the judges will look at that very harshly.
Yeah, I am not sure how they managed to keep that going. Here we go with the replay. Ernestes looking the same way he did in qualifying, doing what he needs to do in that lead position, grabbing a little bit of that rumble strip right there. Artem right in the chase, applying the pressure though, right on the bumper through that transition, picks up throttle together. They fill that outside zone as well, working back up the hill. Little bit of teeny tiny tire drop there from Ernestes in that lead position as they continue on down the hill, right up along that rumble strip edge. And there's the hit from the chase position, but again, they keep things going anyway.
They do, and back around at the start line, you have Artem Cholkov in that lead position with Ernestes ready to chase him down. Artem has to have a clean run here if he has any hope of getting through to the top 32 today. Ernestes ready to bite at the bit to take his chance to get to the top 16, initiating in a bit of a gap there off the initiation from the lead driver to the chase, but now starting to reel him in as they transition to the next half of this course. Through the inside clip they go down into the decel zone, both of them adding tons of angle, but on the door is Ernestes as they come through that outer zone, transitioning up the hill now. Going for it is Artem, but right on him is Ernestes as they come down the hill, almost pushing Artem down that hill. They transition now for the final wall ride, and look at Ernestes' proximity, giving him another little tap there as they cross that finish line.
Yeah, let's take another look here. Artem now out front in that lead position. Ernestes giving chase, leaving a bit of room there through initiation, and then slowly works him in for this first turn and into outside zone 3, making their transition through this power rally section. Artem doing a fantastic job there, really pouring on the angle, has a small bobble but keeps things going on the correct line, filling these outside zones as they work up the hill. Ernestes right there applying the pressure, almost pushing him down the hill and into that next outside zone, right along the bumper for the last and final turn. And filling that outside zone. We go to the judges. Ernestes on the left, Artem on the right. Winner again moves on into the top 16. And there it is. Ernestes gets the win, moves on into the top 16, but fantastic showing from Artem Cholkov.
Yeah, that decision coming down to that contact there, coming into the final outside zone, and Ernestes moving on and now going to face Darius Ostreka in the top 16, and already we're seeing quite the top 16 build up here, even though we're only done the first group.
And as our next group of drivers load in and get their little bit of practice runs in, there is the bracket up on your screen. Alan Hines and Austin Zaleski will face off against each other in the top 16 later after they get their wins in the top 32. And Darius Ostreka and Ernestes Yakulovis will face off against each other later in the top 16. Up next, though, Alexander Element and Kevin Stump, Daniel Andreev and Reese Tatterson, Robert Kavinsky and Alexander Sivruk, Stanislav Tarasov, and Stephen Hatcher. A strong group coming up. That bottom left corner is going to be a tough one today.
It definitely is. This is going to be, I think, a fight all the way through to the end for everybody in competition today. I mean, we came in predicting, oh, it'll be 88, but nope, we ended up with a 90 to get into qualifying today, so anything can happen and it's anyone's game.
It really is. And then when you think about the current standings before qualifying, yeah, it comes down to 3 drivers, and it's wide open for all 3 of them to win the championship here today in the final round.
Yeah, very much so is, and it's going to be a fight between all of them to see who can win the championship or who can maybe go up a little bit higher to get a couple more championship points out of them. Looks like we have our drivers at the line and ready to go. In your lead position is going to be Alexander Element in that 370Z, and beside him in the brand new Nissan Z, NOS Energy Drink Nissan Z, is going to be Kevin Stump as the lights go on and this battle gets underway. Initiating in is Alexander Element, but right with him is Kevin Stump. Coming through that next outside zone, a little bit of a gap now established from Element, as falling behind is the Z of Kevin Stump. Coming into that decel area now, going through it beautifully as both drivers in some proximity regained there from Kevin in that chase position as they come up the hill out to that peak where the outside zone is. And now on the attack is Kevin Stump, trying to get on that door, predicting the transition, but not doing it fully, trying to get on that door, trying to match that angle, but maybe it wasn't enough. We'll have to see in the second half of the battle.
Yeah, we'll take another look at it here with Alexander Element out front this time in the lead position, first half of the battle, and Kevin starting things out aggressive, but then has a bobble back there in that chase position, and it leads to a bit of a gap. Now, Alexander Element coming up short, quite short of that rumble strip there at outside zone 3 and pulls the gap even further, but Kevin Stump doing a good job in the chase position to reel him back in through that decel area, taking advantage of it. There they are, top of the hill, coming back down it with Kevin Stump right there in that chase position. Now falls out of angle quite a bit there, Kevin Stump in the chase position, as Alexander Element sets up nice for the wall.
Definitely does, but now we'll see how the second half of this battle goes. Kevin Stump, that NOS Energy Drink Nissan Z in the lead lane, getting chased down now by Alexander Element. Out of the start gate, the second half's underway. Initiating in is Kevin Stump. Right with him, though, is Alexander Element coming through that inside clip to the next outside zone, almost transitioning along the bumper was Element. Maybe a little touch there as we saw a little bobble from that lead car coming into the D-cell zone now. Into that inside clip, the proximity from Element here. He is all over Kevin Stump. Kevin Stump dropping a little bit of a tire there as they come through the next outside zone down the hill now. Backing off a bit, preparing for the transition and the D-cell zone into that wall ride. Alexander Element gets back up on the door and finishes out the run on the door of Kevin Stump.
Yeah, he certainly does. We'll take another look here. Kevin Stump out front. Alexander Element chasing him down. Quite a gap opened up there until that second outside zone. Alexander Element right there with him through the inside clip, and then falling out of angle is Alexander Element in that chase position through outside 3. Nice and smooth decel from Kevin Stump out front as they continue on, picking up momentum now up the hill. Alexander Element right there in the pocket of that lead car. Kevin Stump, they continue on down the hill. Kevin filling that outside zone, using the rumble strip as he should, sets up nicely for the wall, but Alexander Element right there in the chase. And we go to the judges. Winner moves on into the top 16. Alexander Element on the left, Kevin Stump on the right. And it looks like Alexander Element is going to get the win, move on into the top 16, but another good job done by Kevin Stump.
Yeah, good showing from Kevin. Did great in qualifying and, did great in his battle too, but sadly Alexander Element gets a little bit ahead of him. Next up for our next battle, Daniel Andreev in that S15, and beside him, Pro Drift Academy driver Reese Tatterson, ready to start their battle. Daniel qualifying 13th, Reese qualifying 20th. Daniel's off and right initiating in. Ooh, almost touched the bumper there on initiation was Reese Tatterson as they come through the first few clips here. Reese really trying to get on the door there of Daniel as they come through the second half of this course down into the D-cell zone. Oh, that was close. Reese Tatterson had to back out of it and come back into it as they came into that D-cell zone to avoid hitting Daniel. Now they're coming up the hill through that outer zone. Reese Tatterson is almost on the door of Daniel, leaving off that room now to transition to the final outer zone. A little bit more inside as the chase driver, but right up on him. Woo, finishing out the door. I thought that was going to end in a crash.
Yeah, it almost did there. We'll take another look. Daniel Andreev out front in his S15 being chased down by Reese Tatterson. They settle in nicely to turn 1 together. Daniel on a fantastic lead line as he works into outside zone 3 using the rumble strip. Reese backing off a little bit, leaving room for the transition, but not there. Right along the bumper as they make that transition into the D-cell zone. It puts Reese a little bit on the inside line there, but back into the fight is Reese Tatterson up the hill and back down it right there with Daniel Andreev out front. Very smooth transition to finish things out. And there's Reese a little bit on the inside, but then works it back out to the outside.
Well, back around at the start gate, ready for the second half of their battle. Pro Drift Academy driver in that S15, Reese Tatterson in the lead position, and Daniel Andreev ready to chase him down. They get the light to go ahead, and the battle's underway, initiating in. Lots of angle there from Reese Tatterson, but matching it is the chase driver of Daniel, sticking on that rear quarter panel as they come through that outer zone and make the transition for the next inside clip. Keeping a good proximity here is Daniel as they both come into that inside clip beautifully. Daniel recovering some of that proximity now and trying to get right up on the door of Reese Tatterson. Reese Tatterson managing to stay just ahead though, not allowing them to get right up on it, but keeping a good proximity is Daniel as they come into that final outside zone. Daniel puts it up on the door and they finish out the run.
Yeah, finish it out strong indeed between these two. Reese Tatterson out front, Daniel Andreev in that chase position, entering in nicely together. Daniel maybe a little bit closer in that chase position as he's almost pushing Reese through the course. In a good position there, falls back just a little bit, but then right back into the pocket there and down into the inside clip. Look at there, as you pointed out, closing the gap right along the door, and the bumper through that transition is Daniel Andreev. Reese doing a really good job out front though as they work down the hill, filling these outside zones, grabbing the inside clips. But look at there, Daniel Andreev in that chase position. Fantastic last transition. There they go across that finish line. We go to the judges. Daniel Andreev on the left, Reese Tatterson on the right. We'll see the winner in top 16 later on today. Oh, and judges are moving. Reese is moving as well. Chris goes right for Reese Tatterson. Ed goes Daniel Andreev. It's up to Matt. And Matt chooses Daniel Andreev. Daniel Andreev gets the win, moves on into the top 16. Tough battle to call between those two, but Daniel gets it.
Yeah, Daniel getting the win there over Reese Tatterson. That was a close one. Both those drivers were absolutely on it. And he'll go to see Alexander Element in that top 16 as we wait for our next two drivers to get to this start gate. It'll be Robert Kavinsky, who qualified 5th and is currently 3rd in the championship fight. So he's definitely going to want to try and win over Alexander Shavruk, who qualified 28th today. Looks like maybe a 5-minute timeout or something was called, maybe some server connection issues. We're going to jump over to our battle after that. This is actually going to be Stanislav Tarasov in that 370Z, and beside him is going to be Steven Hatcher in that FD RX-7. The light goes on and off they go. Stanislav qualifying 12th, Steven Hatcher qualifying 21st. They initiate in, lots of angle from Stanislav. This is his first VDC event, and he's already into the top 32 coming through that outer zone. Steven Hatcher, though, the veteran, putting on the pressure to Stanislav as they transition into that D-cell zone, and a lot of gap given there, and then immediately regained from Steven in that chase position. Steven must have a lot more grip in that FD as he's putting it on the door and hits Stanislav very hard, but it doesn't put them out of sync, and he hits him again going into the final outer zone, and maybe just too much aggression or maybe some lag from Steven Hatcher there.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of wondering if it is lag, as that was super odd in that D-cell area, but Stanislav doing a really good job out front in the lead position as we take another look here on that replay, getting all the way out to the rumble strip. Could have used a little bit more of it, but here comes the weird D-cell, and then yeah, jumping right back into it. That's going to be a tough one for the judges to call there. As we see Steven fall back again and then reeling back in really quickly, back down the hill, giving him a little bit of tap. Last and final transition, hitting him again, putting Steven offline, but Stanislav continuing on. We'll switch things up. Hopefully Steven's connection is all good.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on there as we're ready for the second half of this battle. Steven Hatcher now in the lead lane, and ready to chase him down is Stanislav. The light goes on in the second half of this battle's underway. Who will move on to the top 16? Initiating in is Steven Hatcher. Looking good off the initiation, but really close there is Stanislav as they come through that next outer zone, leaving that room for the transition. Lots of angle thrown by Hatcher as they come through into that D-cell area, and a good surge there from the chase driver to try and regain that proximity that might have been lost. Steven Hatcher is quick through that section as they come up over the hill. Now we can see Stanislav putting it on the door of Steven Hatcher. Could Stanislav see his first appearance into the top 16 off his VDC debut, coming through that final outside zone on the door?
Yeah, we'll take another look at it here. Steven Hatcher out front, Stanislav in that chase position in that 370Z and applying the pressure quickly there in turn one, staying with Steven out front. Now Steven using all of that rumble as he should out front, but then really pours a lot of angle there for the inside clip. really choking up the chase there a little bit, but Stanislav doing a good job in the chase position to reel him back in and take advantage of that decel area and stick with him for the remainder of the course as they work down that hill, filling that zone. Last and final transition, and Stanislav with him all the way through that last and final turn. And we go to the judges. Stanislav on the left, Steven Hatcher on the right. Again, winner moves on into the top 16. Tough group of drivers here in the bottom left-hand side of the bracket. And we are actually going to get a one more time between these two. They're going to line them back up.
Well then, you know, we kind of came into this thinking we're not going to see too many one more times, but that is one I'd like to see one more time. You know, maybe just clean it up a little bit, put on a little bit of a better show, boys. Let's clean it up and really send it for this one more time battle for the fans here watching us at the top 32. Now line back up and around is Stanislav Tarasov in that 370Z and Steven Hatcher in that SimMagic FTRX7, ready to start their one more time battle. Off they go. Not going to be that easy to get into the top 16. Stanislav, let's go, initiates in. Good initiation, could have been a bit deeper into that inside clip as they came through it. Steven trying to get that proximity as they come through that outer zone and transition down towards the decel zone. A hit there from Steven Hatcher. Steven Hatcher getting a little too aggressive, getting lost in the smoke a little bit as you can see the proximity gap now between Stanislav and Steven Hatcher as they crest the top of that hill and start making their way down. Steven has nowhere to go, no way to regain that proximity. He can just hold it there, match the line, match the angle as Stanislav finishes out that run.
Yeah, we'll take another look at the contact here with Stanislav out front ahead of Steven Hatcher in this one more time battle, the first half of it. We see Stanislav almost over-rotate into the first turn. Goes a little wide for inside clip, a little shallow for the outside zone. Great on that next one, and then finally using the rumble strip there. But really driving out of that zone. Now that contact, I know judges will probably take their time a little bit with it there to make sure that Stanislav isn't dropping any speed before making that transition. It's super important for that lead car to continue on with their momentum and then decel after their transition there. So we'll probably have to, you know, let them take their time with it. But we've got the second half of the battle upcoming.
We sure do. Let's see how Steven Hatcher does now that he's back in that lead position with Stanislav ready to chase him down. Steven likes going to that decel zone very quickly, so maybe it might have been a mistake, but we'll find out as they initiate in. Stanislav leaving a lot of room there off the initiation and getting onto that rear quarter panel of the FDRX7 as they come through that outside zone. Now transitioning through into that decel off course, maybe a little bit there from Steven Hatcher, trying to whip that FDRX7 around that hairpin turn and maybe suffering because of it. That gives Stanislav the chance to catch back up and stay within proximity as they come into that final outside zone. Stanislav getting on the door now. Steven Hatcher putting it there and crossing that finish line.
Yeah, let's take another look at it here. Steven maybe going a little bit too hard there in that power alley section through that decel zone, dropping some tire. Great initiation. Does wash a little bit wide after inside clip, but grabs that outside zone nicely. Using the rumble strip as he should there, staying on angle, transitioning across. Ton of speed here. And then transition. Drops tire. Now there could be a little bit of contact there across that rear bumper as well. So, you know, we might have an extended stay waiting for the judges to make a call here as a lot of things unfolded throughout this battle. There they go across that finish line. We'll go to the judges. We'll give them a little bit of time. Who knows? Maybe they have their decision already. And we'll see who moves on. Again, Stanislav on the left, Steven Hatcher on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16.
long debate from these judges, as they got to look over everything to make sure they're making the right call, make sure that contact didn't happen, and that maybe Steven did just go wide, or maybe there was contact. We will sit here and deliberate as we wait for those wonderful sliders to
And they have slid. So an interesting call. Steven Hatcher gets the win here, moves on into the top 16. Now one judge, Ed, going for Stanislav. Maybe we can get Chris in here for an explanation to see what unfolded. A lot unfolded there, and it could be Stanislav dropping speed before the transition, or even the bump during Steven's lead. So we'll see if we can get Chris in here on the mic for the explanation.
Hello. That was a bit of a nightmare battle, but we always have those. So that one obviously comes down to the contact from Stanislav in the chase run against Steven in the lead. So for myself and Matt, we are absolutely convinced that there was contact there, because between clips 8 and 9, there's that really fast transition. And if you look, you can see Stanislav closing up really fast. Steven's on the right trajectory, the right line. He was going to transition fine. And then he just suddenly picks up speed apropos of nothing and is then off track. Now, yes, Steven does make a similar mistake in his chase run where he hits him on the door before the transition, but it's one of those where it's mistake to mistake, but which mistake is worse in our opinion? And for myself and Matt, we feel that Stanislav hitting Steven's rear bumper through a transition that pushes him wide, and Steven does a really good job to hold onto it and keep the drift going even. Like, it would have been acceptable if Steven had stalled out and more or less stopped drifting at that point, but he does a really good job to hold on to it, where we feel that that is enough as a worse chasing error to give Steven the win. Ed felt differently. Ed felt that he couldn't see contact. He wasn't convinced that it was there. So for him, he therefore gave the win to Stanislav. So it's one of those where each of the 3 judges, as per our rulebook, we make our own independent calls regarding contact. So for myself and Matt, we were convinced that there was contact, and we were convinced that that was what caused Steven to suddenly go wide and go backwards. Whereas Ed didn't feel comfortable in saying that is what had happened. Therefore, he gave the win to Stanislav.
Awesome. Great explanation, Chris. We appreciate you, head judge Chris Witowski, giving us an awesome explanation. We see Steven Hatcher move on into the top 16. And it looks like we might have a buy run coming up with Robert Kavinsky getting a little bit of a free pass into the top 16.
Yeah, exactly. And this is big for the championship as well, as this is one less battle that this man here, Robert Kavinsky, has to do, and gets an extra little free practice run. And with these guys being within 30 points of each other, every move up is a good move, and the fact that he doesn't have to work for it makes it even better as we see him come through that outer zone there, up the hill. And look at him just putting on a show for the fans here. We want to thank everybody for coming and joining us and watching during the top 32. We really appreciate you all being here for the final round of this season of the Virtual Drift Championship. As Kavinsky finishes out his run, and we let the other drivers load in, and we start with the second half of the bracket.
Yeah, a good little run there from Robert. We'll pull up the bracket there. Left-hand side is done and over. Alan Hines and Austin Zalewski will face off against each other later on in the top 16 as they get their wins. Darius Ostreka and Ernestes Yakulovis will face off against each other later as well. Alexander Element and Daniel Andreev, Robert Kavinsky, and Steven Hatcher all moving on into the top 16 after getting their top 32 wins. Well-deserved. Fantastic battles so far in this super extended track. 16 clips, 10 outside zones, 6 inside clips. And it's been a fun one so far.
All right, and looks like with the practice runs over, we have our next battle at the line, and we're on to the second half of this bracket, as I've lost my mouse here. 2 seconds. There it is. Here we go. Able to click on the right car. Zach O'Sullivan in the Sim Magic Racing JZ-A80 Toyota Supra up against Nick Kang in that Team RPM S14. Now, Zach O'Sullivan in the lead for championship points right now, so he's going to want to make sure he moves on, but Nick Kang is going to try to do everything he can to make his way into that top 16 as they come through that first turn on the door of each other through the power alley section into the D-cell now. Nick Kang throws that angle in, sticks with Zach O'Sullivan as they come through the outer zone. A little bobble there from that chase position, trying to keep up with the speed of Zach O'Sullivan coming down the hill. Nick Kang losing a bit of proximity there. A lot of wavering back and forth from that chase driver as they come in that final outer zone on the doors. Nick Kang now almost giving Zach a little touch there as they cross that finish line.
Yeah, let's go back to the replay here. Zach O'Sullivan out front in that lead position in the Sim Magic Supra, throwing that thing in right along the white line, but Nick Kang throws it in with him, drops back just a little bit, but then reels him back in through inside clip 2. Drops back for the transition here in the power alley section and doing a good job to hang on to that proximity of that fast Supra out front with Zach O'Sullivan as they transition up the hill now. Grabbing that inside clip, filling the outside zone. Zach doing a good job out front, doing everything he's supposed to be doing in that lead position, but so is Nick hanging his chase position as he pushes Zach across that finish line.
Well, now time for Nick Kang to hang it all out on the line and see if he can make it into the top 16 today. But the man he's got chasing him down, Zach O'Sullivan, is going to do everything in his power to make sure he's the one who moves on after Robert Kavinsky got a free pass into the top 16, initiating in. Nick Kang doing a good job so far, getting up on the rumble strips a bit though in that inside clip as they come through the next outer zone. Zach O'Sullivan is keeping it together and keeping that nice proximity as they come in to that D-cell zone. And look at that, Zach gets right up on the door, leaves the room for the transition, and around they come up the hill. Lots of angle being poured on by Zach, but Nick Kang doing a great job here out front as they come through that final, the second to last outer zone, and now into the wall ride. Zach putting it on the door of Nick Kang and almost losing it near the end.
Well, this is going to be a tough one. We take a look at the replay with Nick Kang out front, entering in nicely, picking up throttle when he should, grabbing that inside clip, not quite filling outside zone 2, but works out to the rumble strip nicely here for that power alley section as well through the inside clip. And here we see Zach reeling back in after having a little bit of gap. Now Nick a little bit on the inside there for the inside clip, working up the hill, and there we see Zach over-rotate just a little bit in that chase position, loses proximity, not quite on him yet, right along the bumper for last transition, and then on the inside line there, a little bit of waver, and across that finish line we go to the judges here between these drivers. Zach O'Sullivan on the left, Nick Kang on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16. And remember, Zach is #1 position in the championship right now. He needs this win.
But needing and achieving are two different things, and he's just got to hope that that was enough for the judges to decide that he gets the win over Nick Kang. But maybe Nick Kang upsets it and goes from qualifying 31st to moving on to the top 16.
And look at there, Zach is safe. He gets the win, moves on into the top 16 over Nick Hang. But what a battle between these two. And Nick put the pressure on in that chase position, but Zach comes out on top.
Wow, that Zach must have been pooping in his seat there, especially after the run that Nick Hang just gave him. I'd be worried. So good on Zach making his way into the top 16, and now the championship fight is still underway as we have our next battle up. Russell Jones up against Victor Laceras, who will go to see Zach O'Sullivan in the top 16. Russell Jones in that GR86 up against Victor Laceras in the S15. Lights go on and off they go. Russell Jones to an okay start and initiating in. Big gap there off the initiation from Victor Laceras, but Victor Laceras slowly reels him in through to that first turn as they make the transition now to the next inside clip. Wow, Victor Laceras trying to touch his fender there as they come into that decel zone. Now on the door is Victor as they transition up the hill, kicking up a bit of dirt from the lead driver there as they come over the hill now. Back down, another touch there from Victor Laceras as they come down that hill into the final outer zone. Looking good out front there is Russell Jones, but Victor putting on that pressure.
Yeah, let's take another look here. Russell Jones out front, Victor Laceras in that chase position, and Russell entering in nicely, picking up throttle. Nicely done for inside clip. Not as deep as he could be for outside zone 2, but continues on filling that outside zone next along that rumble strip. Nicely done through the power alley section. Victor applying the pressure in that chase position, though, right along the pocket, making their transition, coming up the hill now. Little tiny tire drop. It's tough to tell there as we've seen a lot of dirt get popped up right along that track edge. Last and final transition. Victor falling back just a little bit, but then reeling him back in and almost pushing him across that finish line.
Well, now back around at the start line. Victor Laceras in that lead position with Russell Jones ready to chase him down. The light is solid and the second half of this battle is underway. Down the straight they come, and initiating in is Victor Laceras, but Russell Jones right a lot closer with him off that initiation as they come through that inside clip into the outer zone, leaving just enough room for that transition, coming through that inside clip into the decel zone now. There we have the chase driver. He did get the proximity, but then couldn't get the car to really grip up and get back on the door. But now that they're coming up the hill, Russell is starting to regain some of that proximity, but not all of it. They come down now for the final outside zone. Russell Jones manages to get it on the door of Victor Laceras as they pass that finish line.
Yeah, let's take another look here. Victor out front this time in the second half of this top 32 battle between these two. Russell chasing him down right there along the door through turn 1 and following him nicely. Victor doing the same thing in that lead position, not quite filling 2, but getting out to the rumble 4-3, continuing on down the power alley section. Right along the bumper is Russell Jones as Victor goes a little wide for the inside clip. They continue on up the hill here, plateauing at this outside zone right there along that rumble strip, back down the hill. Continuing on here, Russell right along the bumper once more for the last and final transition, staying with him through this last and final turn. And there they go, finishing it out. We go to the judges here. Winner moves on into the top 16. Such close battles here just in the top 32.
You know, it's a trend we've kind of seen all season, but something that's solidified where, you know, yeah, we say a top 32, you know, he was at the bottom of qualifying, he got the 32nd spot, but that's still a 90-point run, you know, so you can't fault a guy for even 32nd over first, because it's only 5 points that separate really all of that.
Yeah, we do have a decision. Russell Jones gets the win. Unanimous decision from all 3 of those judges. He moves on into the top 16 where he'll face off against Zach O'Sullivan.
congratulations there to Russell Jones getting the win over Victor Laceras. And yeah, seeing Zach O'Sullivan in that top 16 is our next battle at the line. Masashi Yoshida in that V8 powered R33 up against Kazuki Fukushi in that Evo 10. Initiating in is Masashi and looking good so far off that initiation. Kazuki trying to keep up and get into that pocket as Masashi comes to that outside zone now, transitioning to the next inside clip. And Kazuki putting a lot of pressure onto Masashi here as they come through that inside clip. Masashi managing to run away a little bit through that decel zone as they come up the hill. Kazuki's got some work here to catch back up and does manage to get back in that pocket and start applying that pressure as they come down for the final outer zone. And Masashi manages to pull away just a bit as Kazuki couldn't really get on the door of Masashi.
Yeah, really struggling to keep up with Masashi Yoshida out front in that Freedom-powered R32 Skyline as they continue on through the course here on the replay. Nicely done out front is Yoshida in that Skyline. Really tight to the inside clip. And here's where Kazuki over-rotates just a little bit, really takes out that inside clip, continues on after falling back quite a bit, sacrificing a lot of angle in that chase position as they work down the hill here, gets caught up in that transition. And then there they go along that wall, finishing out the run, and we'll flip them around.
And flipped around indeed at the start gate with Kazuki Fukushi now in that lead position in the Evo 10 with Masashi Yoshida ready to chase him down in that R33. The light goes on in the second half. Their battle's underway, lighting up those tires as Kazuki down that straight. And oh, a problem with initiation there from Masashi, hitting Kazuki out front is hard, really hard, but it doesn't really upset Kazuki Fukushi too much, and he stays in it as now Masashi trying another really aggressive move and just making a mess of this run. And at this point, I'm sure the run is one and done, and now they're just kind of having a little fun there as they finish it out. But yeah, what an upset there from that hit off of the initiation.
Yeah, an interesting one here. Let's take another look. Kazuki out front in that Lancer, initiating in, and then big hit from that chase position, sending Kazuki off course. They continue on throughout the course here. Yeah, and there's another hit as well, trying to close that gap. But was the run over with the first contact? There's some more contact as well. They continue on here. Maybe a little bit too much grip in Yoshida's car as he almost hits him again there in that last and final turn, and then does it there before finishing. We'll go to the judges here. Yoshida on the left, Kazuki on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16.
Yeah, watching the replay myself, it almost looks like maybe Kazuki throws too much angle onto the initiation, but it's hard to tell. It just quickly flashed on my screen there. I'm just watching the rest of the run now, and maybe it was too much angle, or maybe it was just Masashi going in a little too shallow, not expecting the angle to be thrown. And
yeah, it's almost it could actually maybe be a shared fault there with Kazuki. His initiation was super snappy and poured on the angle immediately, but at the same time, Yoshida didn't have a whole lot of angle. He didn't really look like he set to the angle that he wanted to in the chase position, and ran into him. Now they do continue on with the run, but then there's even more contact later down in the decel area. It's a tough one. Judges might take their time here, and it looks like we do have a decision, and it is Kazuki Fukushi gets the win. He moves on into the top 16 after unfortunate contact there in the second half of the battle.
Well, not a win everybody wants to see. We like to see clean battles, but good job to Kazuki Fukushi for making his way into the top 16. As now to see who will join him, our next battle up, Ebanks, current rookie of the year, up against Mitten in the BMW. Quain in that R35. Lights go on, and this battle is underway. Trying to get the grip, trying to get it going. Wayne initiates in. Dimitri Mitten, though, right there with them on that initiation as they come through that outer zone. Dimitri on the rear quarter panel of that R35. Transitioning now, just leaving enough room for that transition as they come into the D-cell area. Wayne doing a great job out front, putting that R35 exactly where it needs to be. But Dimitri Mitten is putting on the pressure as they come up this hill and around the next inside clip. Right along the door was Dimitri Mitten through that section as they come into the final outer zone now. Look at that, right along the wheel to wheel as they cross that finish line.
Yeah, let's check out the first half of this top 32 battle between these two again. Coyne Ebanks out front here in the replay. Dimitri Mitten giving chase, and look at the angle that Coyne sets into, picks up that throttle and sticks to that angle all the way through turn one, using that rumble strip. Dimitri right there along the bumper through both of those transitions as they work down to the inside clip. Continuing on now up the hill here for this outside zone, right along the edge. Continuing on, Coyne doing everything he needs to in that lead position, but Dimitri staying right there with him in that chase. Last and final turn right along that wall. And there they go across the finish line, door to door.
Well, back around at the start line, Dimitri Mitten in that lead position with Coyne Ebanks ready to chase him down to see who will go to see Fukushi in the top 16. As the battle light goes on and the battle's underway, initiating in is Dimitri Mitten. Coyne Ebanks right there with them though, off that initiation on the door as they come through that outside zone, almost pushing Dimitri a little bit there as they came into that next outside zone. Lots of angle thrown on there from the chase driver of Coyne Ebanks, and going wide is Dimitri Mitten through that inside clip. Having to back off a bit was the chase drivers. They come up the hill now. The pressure being applied by rookie Coyne Ebanks onto Dimitri Mitten into the final outer zone. They get onto the wall, and look at that perfect proximity and finishing out door to door.
Yeah, let's check out the second half here. Dimitri out front, Coyne in that chase position, and it looks like Dimitri just maybe ran out of grip in the second half of this battle. As we take another look, they work down across that rumble strip. Very nice job out front, tight to the inside clip, but watch this a little wide, transitions a little late, but then never really gets the decel there. And then transitioning up the hill, we see him slide out, wash out wide of that inside clip. Now continues on really nicely here in the lead position from there, but Coyne doing a good job in that chase position, letting those mistakes just happen in front of him. And we go to the judges. Coyne on the left, Dimitri Mitten on the right. If Coyne gets this, I believe he wins Rookie of the Year, and he does get the win. Coyne Ebanks gets the win, moves on into the top 16 over Dimitri Mitten. Great job by Coyne there.
Yeah, Coyne coming out swinging and now solidifying his Rookie of the Year status, which is great for him, especially for his first year out here. As we wait for these next drivers to get a couple practice runs in and get ready for the next half of the battles.
Absolutely. Just one corner left to go of the top 32. Tikon Poleski and Yuna Warnen up next. Shoma Takaya and Ryan Literal. Luciana Canero and Christian Petrov. Brandon Gardner and Ernestes Yurkus for our final group of top 32. Yuna Warren at the line, ready, waiting on Tikon Poleski. Our number 3 qualifier, yeah.
Yeah, just saw Tikon Poleski ripping away there in the background. Like, oh, I gotta go. Again, Tikon Poleski qualifying 3rd here today in our final round of the Virtual Drift Championship with Yuna Warren coming in spot number 30. Tikon in the fresh auto S14, Yuna in that beautiful BMW. And their battle is underway. Tikon looks super dialed in qualifying. Let's see how he does here. A little over the line there on initiation, but holds it together. Yuna, though, right there with him, holding the angle and keeping that pressure on through the first half of this course into the D-cell zone. Yuna really pushing onto the door of Tikon Poleski. Tikon doing an amazing job out front here, though. Not a misstep out of place as they come up the hill, but Yuna's able to use that to his advantage and stay within that proximity and stay on the door of Tikon Poleski as they come into that final outer zone and touching wheels as they come across that finish line.
Yeah, Yuna pushing Tikon across the finish line there as we take another look. Tikon Poleski out front in his fresh auto. S14 working his way through turn 1 nicely here in that lead position, but Yuna right there with him in the chase. Now falls back a little bit here in the power alley section, grabs that inside clip, transitions back with Tikon here, falling back just a little bit, and Tikon a little tiny bobble there. We'll have to make sure there wasn't contact before the transition as he gets caught up in that angle, but continues on. Look at there, Yuna right in that chase position, right along the bumper through the transition. They continue on, and then there's that push across the finish line.
Now back at the start gate and flipped around, Yuna Warren now in the lead position with Tikon Poleski ready to chase him down. The light goes on and off they go for this half of the battle. A lot of sideways there as Yuna coming out of that start gate, initiating in. Looking good. Tikon putting a lot of pressure on, though, right after that first inside clip as they come around to the next outer zone. Tikon right along the bumper there as they transition down the hill into the down into the D-cell zone through that inside clip. And a good job from Unique here as Tikon tries to get that grip back up to get back onto the door of Yuna Warren as they come through the next inside zone, and along the wheel is Tikon Poleski, nice and close to that proximity into the final outer zone. And there it is. Look at that proximity from Tikon in that chase, but not to give up the wonderful lead of Yuna Warren.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take another look here. Yuna out front in the second half of this battle, and there's that entry from Tikon that we're used to seeing side by side, and it pays off through turn 1, sticking right there with Yuna Warren out front, right there along the bumper through that transition into the power alley here, down the hill, filling the outside zone, and we see Yuna wash a little bit wide there. He picked that throttle up early, but continued to wash, just couldn't drop that speed that he needed to grab that inside clip. But Tikon right there in that chase position, door to door, letting him transition right along the bumper, a little bit on the inside line there, but works back out to the outside, pushes him across the finish line, and we go to the judges. Tikon Poleski on the left, Yuna Warren on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16. And there it is. Tikon Poleski gets the win over Yuna, but fantastic job to bring the fight to Tikon Poleski was Yuna.
Very much so, and moving on into the top 16, Tikon Poleski, congratulations, as we have our next battle to see who you're going to be up against. Will it be Shoma Takaya in that beautiful S14 180SX front end car, or will it be FD's own Ryan Literal in the Power Stop S15? Initiating in is Shoma Takaya, and a huge surge there from Ryan Literal hitting Shoma Takaya. They had to back out of it, but they do get back into it as now a huge gap is established to Shoma from Ryan Literal as they come down the hill into that D-cell zone. Ryan shoots it way wide in that chase position. Shoma's able to keep that grip going and start flying up the hill, and at this point Ryan's just out there lost in the smoke as they come through the second to last outside zone and now into the final outer zone. Ryan's managed to regain that proximity, get back on the door of Shoma, and finish out this run.
Yeah, we'll take another look here. Shoma Takaya out front, and things get messy quickly as they enter in here. Shoma picking up throttle there, and Ryan just diving in that chase position, pushing Shoma out to the outside a little bit. Shoma does a good job to keep the run going. Same with Ryan as well. He gets back into the fight, but it takes him a while, and he washes there for that inside clip through that decel area, trying to gain back that proximity as they crest the top of the hill, coming back down here, filling that outside zone. Ryan now back into the fight, closing the door in this last and final turn here, and there they go across that finish line.
And now back around at the start gate, ready for the second half of their battle. Ryan Literal in the lead lane. Shoma Takaya ready to chase him down. And the light goes on, and the second half of this battle is underway. Ryan getting out to a good start, but Shoma right there with them as they try to initiate into that first inside clip. Looking good through that outer zone. Shoma keeping a good proximity onto Ryan Literal here as they transition to the second half of this course. One more to go for that D-cell zone, but a gap there from Shoma as Ryan manages to get that inside clip now in the lead lane. And Shoma just maybe not getting as close as we maybe expected him to be, but after that big hit, he might just be playing it safe as they come through down the hill now into one more outer zone. Shoma puts that pressure on and keeps it there, maybe going into the wall a little bit, but just holding back.
Yeah, maybe holding back a little bit indeed. We'll take another look here at the replay. Second half of the battle after that contact in that first turn, and we see Ryan wash a little bit wide for the inside clip. Back down to the next one, doing a good job here for that outside zone, as well as that one about as deep as you can be there. There's the D-cell area for that inside clip, filling that next outside zone. Doing a really good job out front in that lead position is Ryan Literal. Shoma Takaya right there in that chase position, right along the bumper as well, continuing on. And across that finish line, we'll take it to the judges. Shoma Takaya on the left, Ryan Literal on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16, and there it is. Shoma Takaya gets the win, moves on, and we'll see him later on in the top 16.
Yes, Shoma Takaya up against Tikon Poleski. That is going to be one interesting battle, as we still have two more to go here to figure out who's going to fill out our last two top 16 spots. Luciano Canero in that rotary-powered Corvette in your lead lane up against Christian Petrov in his S15. Wait for the judges to hit that start gate. And there we go. The lights are ignited and this battle is underway. Coming down the straight, Luciano initiates in. Christian Petrov trying to catch up to him, cutting that inside line very heavily as they come around that next inside clip. Listen to the limiter of Christian Petrov's car, but not matching that same angle through that inside clip as they come into the D-cell section. Now Christian Petrov's able to get a little bit more proximity there as they start to climb that hill. Coming up over it now. Look at Luciano doing a great job out here in this lead lane. Christian just sticking right with them now as they come down into the final outer zone onto the wall ride. Christian not in that outer zone though, and tried to work his way into it before the end.
Yeah, let's take another look here. Luciano out front in that rotary-powered Corvette. Really just the 3.0 public Corvette, just with a rotary in it, and he does a good job here in the lead position with that Corvette. Christian Petrov getting a little mixed up there in that chase position, has to sacrifice a lot of line and angle to then be in that position he's in now through that power alley section. Luciano doing a good job there to get around that inside clip. Very smooth D-cell through that D-cell area. There they go, working up the hill, but a little bit of left foot brake used working up that hill is Luciano in that Corvette. Christian Petrov doing a nice job in that chase position. Ends up on a little bit of an inside line there, works back to the outside, and we flip him around.
And flipped around they are. Christian Petrov now in the lead lane with Luciano ready to chase him down. The light goes on in the second half of this battle's underway. Only one more battle after this to round out the top 32. Initiating in is Christian Petrov. Luciano, good job on that initiation as well. In nice proximity as they come through the first 3 flipping points down to the transition, leaving a little room. Oh, a big bobble though from Luciano in that chase position, trying to keep up with that speed of Christian Petrov as they come through that outer zone and make the transition now up the hill. Christian doing a good job here out front so far as he comes down the hill now, but Luciano trying to get that attack on, trying to get that pressure onto Christian Petrov as they come around that final outside zone and finish out their run.
Yeah, we take another look at Christian trying to find the next gear throughout this entire run. Here in the replay, initiating in all the way out to that white line and doing a good job here through turn 1. Not quite as deep as he could be through outside zone 2 and 3 there. Again, judges want to see him use that rumble strip. Nicely done here for the D-cell area though, picking up that inside clip, using the rumble strip there before working up the hill. Good line. They plateau. Luciano in that chase position could be a little bit tighter there as he leaves quite a bit of room for that last and final transition and then closes the door. There they go, across that finish line. We'll go to the judges. Luciano on the left, Christian Petrov on the right. Winner moves on into the top 16. And we almost had a one more time there, but Chris and Matt choose Luciano. Ed chooses one more time, but Luciano will get the win, move on into the top 16, and we'll see him later on.
And a good job there from Luciano to take that win and take our second to last spot in the top 16. Now, who will go up against Luciano Canero? Our final battle here of the top 32 for the final round of the Virtual Drift Championship. Brandon Gardner in that NOS Energy Drink Nissan Z up against Yurkus in the BMW. And the light goes on and their battle is underway. Erika's chasing him down. Brandon initiates in, but Erika's, a little too aggressive, hits Brandon in that lead position, but it doesn't upset him. They keep the run going. Erika's really trying to apply that pressure here and take that last top 16 spot, but Brandon wants it just as much as they come into that detail zone. Little cut there from the inside lane was Erika's trying to keep that proximity as they come up the hill. Look at that, Erika's all over the door of Brandon, but Brandon's keeping exactly where he goes, but another touch there from the chase position as they have to maneuver one more outside zone. Holy, this is almost like a final battle between these two. How aggressive was that?
Yeah, like a boxing match here in the first half of their battle. Brandon Gardner out front, Yurkus chasing him down. And there they go, entering in together and a bump to start things out. They keep things going. Brandon not quite using that rumble strip, but uses the inside one, the one he maybe isn't quite supposed to be using. But again, it all came after that bump from Erika's. Erika's a little bit on the inside line there. He is allowed to use that rumble strip on the inside, and there they go, working up the hill. Erika sacrificing a little bit of angle to stay in that pocket, and there's another bump there along the door of Brandon Gardner as they work into this last and final turn along the wall. There's another bump from Erika's and across the finish line.
Well, now back around at the start gate. We have Yurkus in that lead position now, and Brandon ready to chase him down in that NOS Energy Drink Nissan Z. And we'll see who advances on to our final spot of the top 16. The light goes on and the battle is underway. Erika's smoking up those tires down the straight as he initiates in, and a good initiation for Erika. It's almost right on the lock stops, but the chase position of Brandon able to keep up with them and keep that proximity on as they transition down to the D-cell zone through the outer zone. Now they go Keeping on the door is Brandon Gardner. Very good job here from that chase driver. Ernestes putting on a good show here out front, though. Brandon losing a bit of proximity up the hill. Now they come down at one more outer zone to navigate as they come into it now. And Ernestes just with a bit more gap there, and Brandon can't answer back for it.
Yeah, I think a little bit of the gap came from a contact we had in an inside clip after the big decel zone area. We'll take another look at it here. Ernestes out front doing what he needs to do in that lead position. Could have been a little deeper there in outside zone 2, but grabs 3 nicely. Good, smooth transition for the power alley section. There they transition together, pick up throttle, continuing on, and then right there, maybe a little bit of contact from that chase position that added the angle, and Ernestes BMW out front. It just added angle out of nowhere really quickly in that lead position. They continue on, last and final turn here between these two, and there they go across the finish line. We go to the judges. Brandon Gardner on the left, Ernestes on the right. Again, last and final battle here in the top 32 before we head into the top 16. Winner will face Luciano Canero in his rotary-powered C6 Corvette. And there it is. We have a decision. Brandon Gardner gets the win over Ernestes Yurkus. We'll see him later on into the top 16. We'll take a look at the completed top 32 bracket before heading into the top 16. Alan Hines and Austin Zalewski will start things out for us. Darius Ostreka and Ernestes Yakulovis, Alexander Element and Daniel Andreev, Robert Kavinsky, and Stephen Hatcher, that whole left-hand side of the bracket. Coming up next after a short break, and we hear from our amazing sponsors. We'll see you back in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone. It's top 16, final round of the 7th season of the Virtual Drift Championship here at Jyllands-Ringen. We'll take another look at the bracket if you're just now joining us. And there it is. Coming up next, Alan Hines and Austin Silvestri, Darius Ostreka, and Ernestes Yakulovis, Alexander Element and Daniel Andreev, Robert Kavinsky, and Stephen Hatcher. Our first group of top 16 coming right up, and it looks like we have our first battle at the line ready to go.
They already are, but I mean, we're wanting to get this one and done. Pro Drift Academy driver Alan Hines qualifying first today in that lead position, and then beside him qualifying 17th, Austin Silvestri in that JZA80 Supra. Alan Hines is just as in the championship fight as the other two, and let's see what they can lay down here. Austin Silvestri is going to want to move on as well as they initiate in. A good initiation there from Alan Hines. Austin Silvestri managing to keep up on the door of Alan, though, as they transition down to the next part of the course. Look at that proximity there from Austin as he left no room for that transition, and right along the quarter panel of Alan Hines as they come up the hill. Austin is putting on the pressure onto Alan Hines. Look at that as they come down the hill, transitioning into that final outer zone. Let's see the next camera angle. Look at the proximity there from Austin. He's telling Alan, nope, I'm here to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Bringing the fight to Alan Hines is Austin Silvestri in that chase position. We go to the replay here, and reeling him in quickly is Austin in that Supra as they continue on. Alan doing a really nice job out front. Near perfect lead run here as he sweeps across that inside clip all the way out to the track edge there for that outside zone. Grabs the inside clip. Could have been a little bit deeper there, but gets out to the track edge there. Using that rumble strip. Here they come down the hill. Austin Silvestri right in the pocket of that Pro Drift Academy S15. And once more for the last and final turn.
Well, now for the second half of the battle, they are at the start gate, flipped around. Austin Silvestri in that lead position. Alan Hines ready to chase him down and see what he can do in that chase to answer for the amazing chase that Austin just gave us. Lights go on and off they go. Sideways out of the gate comes Austin and initiates in. Alan Hines initiating with him, holding good angle, but not as taking that first inside clip as the judges would like to see from the lead. Alan managing to stick right with him through that whole thing, though, as they come through the next part of the course. Almost not leaving enough room for the transition again. Alan Hines gets onto the door of Austin. Austin managing to keep a little bit of a gap there, though, as they come up the hill. Now coming to the next outer zone as they crest the hill. Alan is on full attack here, trying to get around the door. Austin Silvestri just leaving enough room, but a hit from Alan in behind puts him deeper into the wall, but they do not hit the wall and they finish out the run.
Oh my word! Almost ending the run there at the last and final turn, and we take another look here. Alan takes him a second to really get onto the door of Austin Zalewski, but Austin washes a little bit wide for that first inside clip, and it literally might all come down to that. We continue on with the replay here. Austin around the same position for that inside clip and the outside zone, right along that track edge, working up the hill now, using that rumble strip at the top, going back down the hill, really pouring on the angle. Allen right there in that chase position. Here they come in. Now, yeah, Austin doing everything he was supposed to do in that lead position, picked up throttle when he was supposed to, still got the hit from Allen, but they continue on anyway. We go to the judges. Allen on the left, Austin Zalewski on the right. Winner moves on into the top 8, and an important battle here for Allen Hines if he wants to win the championship today. Allen gets 1 vote from the judges, and all 3 unanimous decision from all 3 of those judges. Allen gets the win and moves on into the top 8.
Well, Allen there getting the win over Austin Zalewski. I really thought it was going to come down to that contact, but maybe something happened in the back. Or maybe just let him throttle too much or something. But Allen Hines gets the win, and we move on to our next top 16 battle. Darius Ostreka in our lead position up against Ernestes Yakulovis in that S14. This top 16 battle is underway. Darius off to a good start. Ernestes, though, initiating right with them as they come into that first inside clip. Ernestes on the door of Darius as they come around that outside zone and into the next one. Looking good here, leaving enough room for that transition, but just barely as Ernestes is on the attack here onto Darius Ostreka. Ostreka coming through that inside clip now. Up the hill they come. Looking good from both. The proximity from that chase driver is absolutely perfect as he's right there on the door the whole way down the hill. One last transition onto the wall. They come, and now a little bit of a gap there from the lead driver, but a good run overall.
Yeah, good run indeed by these teammates here. Darius Ostreka out front, and a wonderful initiation. But Ernestes right there in that chase position, right in the pocket, applying the pressure, almost pushing him through turn 1 right along the bumper. Just tucks in nicely through that transition. That one as well, coming down to the inside clip through that decel area of the course. Back up the hill they go, right along that track edge is Darius Ostreka out front, using that rumble strip, working back down the hill. Ernestes right on the door, pushing him down the hill, and settles in nicely to this last and final turn. There they go across the line, and we switch them up.
And back at the start gate, they are flipped around and ready to go again. Ernestes in that lead lane. Darius ready to chase him down. The light goes solid in the second half of this battle's underway. Who's going to go see Allen Hines in the top 8, initiating it? Huge initiation from Ernestes out front, but Darius manages to react to it and stick with them through the first part of that course. Right along the door was Darius onto Ernestes. Look at that proximity as they make that transition into that decel zone. Over the bump he goes as he takes that inside line from the chase position there. Now coming up the hill, Darius is trying everything he can to just keep it on the door of Ernestes and answer back for that other chase run as they come into the final outer zone. Darius all over Ernestes as they finish that run.
Yeah, let's go to the replay here. Ernestes out front this time ahead of his teammate Darius Ostreka as they enter in together. Darius a little bit on the inside there, but sticks with him through turn 1, settles into the pocket of that lead car, falls back just a little bit, but then right there on the bumper for the transition. That one as well, coming down through this decel area of the course. Ernestes doing a really good job out front with that section as they work up the hill now, filling that next outside zone, using the rumble strip, staying off of it for the inside as Ernestes continues on this lead run, picking up throttle when he should. Nice and tight to the wall. Darius right there in that chase position, though, as they cross that finish line. We go to the judges once more here in the top 16. Darius on the left, Ernestes on the right. Again, winner moves on into the top 8. And Ernestes gets a vote, 2 votes and 3, so unanimous decision from all 3 of the judges. Ernestes gets the win over teammate Darius Ostreka. Tough battle.
Well, Ernestes going on to see Alan Hines in the top 8 as we have our next top 16 battle at the line ready to go. Alexander Element in that 370Z up against Daniel Andreev in that S15. Off they go for this top 16 battle. Element out front. Daniel chasing him down. Lots of angle thrown by Element, but Daniel reacts to it perfectly and matches him through it as they come through this next outside zone. Transitioning down now towards that D-cell. Andreev carrying lots of speed along with Alexander Element, but sticking right with them, keeping a close proximity and making their way up the hill now. Daniel's not letting Element go as they come around and start making their way down the hill. One more clip to navigate the outer zone with the wall. Daniel puts it on the door of Alexander as they finish out the run.
Yeah, here we go. Back to the replay. Alexander Element out front being chased down by Daniel Andreev. Tough battle between these two to start things out here in the first half. And look at there, Daniel almost getting into the door of Alexander Element right there off the rip. They continue on. Daniel settles into it nicely. Alexander Element doing a good job out front. Does wash just a little wide there, as you see, getting to that outside zone a little early as they continue up the hill here, using this rumble strip as he should out front. And Daniel right there in that chase position, falling back a little bit for that transition, reels him back in for the last and final turn. Very tight to the wall and across that finish line.
Well, now ready for the second half of their battle. Daniel now in that lead position. Element ready to chase him down. And the lights go on and off they go for the second half of their battle to see who's going to take the next spot in the top 8. Initiating in is Daniel, right with him Alexander Element, doing a good job so far to keep that proximity on the door as they come through the next outside zone. Backing off a bit for that transition, maybe a touch there from Alexander in that chase position as they come into that D-cell zone and now start to climb up the hill. Alexander Element is putting on the pressure onto Daniel, but it is not phasing him. Look at that proximity as they come down. On the door is Alexander Element to Daniel. Now into the wall ride, right along the wall there, and ooh, maybe a hit from behind or maybe grabbed the wall at the end. Either which way, they do finish the run.
Yeah, it's a tough one there at the very end. It almost looks like Daniel thought he was going to get into the wall and turned into it to, you know, maybe fight against it and keep the run going, and then just didn't get into the wall. But look at this, door to door through turn 1, right along the bumper is Alexander Element in that chase position through that power alley section. Nice and smooth D-cell on the correct line is Daniel Andreev out front, working up the hill right along that trek edge, right on that white line. Grabbing a little bit of that rumble strip at the top of the hill, back down it here at the bottom. Transitions nicely into the wall, super deep there, and yeah, that's a tough one. We'll go to the judges. Alexander Element on the left, Daniel Andreev on the right. Winner again moves on into the top 8 in the final round of Season 7. 2023 season. We've been doing this for 6 years now.
Not long already.
That long.
I think I've been with you guys for 5 years now, I think.
Yeah, it started season 2, and then you had the Bushido thing going on in between 2 and 3, I believe. And then yeah, we brought you on for 3, or halfway through 3. It's been a long ride. It's been a journey, but a fun one.
It's been amazing
indeed.
every year of it, though.
Oh, and it looks like we have a decision here, and Daniel Andreev is gonna get the win, move on into the top 8. But fantastic battle between these two. It's always a pleasure seeing Alexander Element show up and do his thing, but it's gonna end his time here today.
but a heartfelt battle. I mean, Daniel was all over Element there, and that was just a great showing between these two. And again, it just shows the level of these guys, that every battle feels like a final battle. And we have our last battle of this half of the bracket coming up right here. Robert Kavinsky up against Steven Hatcher. Now, Alan Hines has already moved on, which means Robert needs to move on to keep hold of his current position in the championship points. So, can Steven Hatcher dispatch him and Steven move on to face Daniel in the top 8? Or will it be Robert? Robert Kavinsky in that 370Z, and in the Sim Magic Racing RX-7 will be Steven Hatcher. Initiating in is Robert. Great initiation. Steven all over him, but going really wide there through that outer zone, while Robert manages to maintain his pace. But right away, the speed of that RX-7 catches right back up to Robert Kavinsky out front as they come through that decel zone and now start to climb up the hill. Hatcher is just all over him, but keeps dropping back and then regaining that proximity as they come through the second to last outer zone now. One more to navigate. Robert Kavinsky out front. A hit there from Steven Hatcher, but it doesn't upset the lead, and they finish out the run.
Yeah, we'll take another look at it here. It really almost ended that run. Robert really had to make a huge correction there in that last and final turn. Here we go through turn 1 here. Nicely done from Robert. And as you pointed out, Steven Hatcher washing out wide in that chase position through that inside clip, but he gets back into the fight here through that power alley section, but has to back off quite a bit for that transition as he was a little too close before it. Here they go working up the hill now. Steven back into the fight in that FD RX-7, chasing down Robert. Last and final transition, picking up throttle, working out to the outside. Yeah, gets a little push from Steven, has to get back into it, and we'll flip him around.
Back at the start gate, they are flipped around. Steven Hatcher in that lead position, ready to put on a show, with Robert Kavinsky ready to chase him down and try to advance himself further in this championship. Off they go with the light. Initiating in is Steven Hatcher with a huge gap established, but Robert Kavinsky in that chase position manages to get back up on the door as they come through the next inside clip. Now transitioning through the hill. Look at the speed of that RX-7 as they transition now. Good transition there from Steven Hatcher, but Robert managing to stay with them as they start to climb the hill. Robert going to get on that door as they crest the hill here. A little dirt kicked up there, looked like from the chase position, as they come down now and transition into the final wall ride. And look at that there, right along the wall and right along the door, they finish out.
And here we go back to the second half replay here in this top 16 battle. Steven Hatcher out front and quite a bit of a gap in between them two, but Robert reels him in quickly. By the time they get to outside zone 2, there they go through 3. Steven having a little bit of a bobble there through outside zone 3 as they continue on here down into the decel area. Steven doing a nice job with that inside clip and that next outside zone as they work up the hill. Steven a little bit shallow for there, and then going a little wide there as you see the dirt pop up going on the back hand side of that rumble strip. Last and final transition, pouring on the angle, leaves the outside zone, works it back out there, and across that finish line. We'll go to our judges. Robert on the left, Steven Hatcher on the right. Winner. We'll move on into the top 8. Important battle here for Robert Kavinsky. Will he get the win? He does. Unanimous decision from all 3 of those judges. Robert Kavinsky gets the win. We'll see him later on in the top 8.
The championship fight still underway. And now we'll just see if Zach O'Sullivan can keep up the pressure with Russell Jones coming up next.
Absolutely. That is the left-hand side of the top 16 bracket done. As you see there, Alan Hines and Ernestes will face off against each other later in the top 8, and Daniel Andreev and Robert Kavinsky in the top 8 after getting their top 16 wins. The next group coming up, right-hand side of the bracket, Zach O'Sullivan and Russell Jones will face off after they get into the server loaded in and a couple of practice runs.
You know, just for fun, thinking and looking at the bracket, you know, there is a potential we could see Alan, Robert, and Zach all in the top 4 and literally dogfighting it out for who's gonna win the championship. And I mean, that would just be an amazing ending.
Absolutely. And Tikon Poleski down on the bottom right hand side of that bracket as well. Him moving on into the top 4. Yeah, could really shake things up. Zach O'Sullivan, if he makes it all the way there, will have to face off against Tikon Poleski.
But I mean, Shoma is no joke. Shoma might be able to dispatch Tikon, and then that shakes things up. I mean, we're only in the top 8. Anything can happen, and we just got to look at how it goes. But I mean, as a prediction-wise, that would be amazing to see Alan, Zach, Robert, and Tikon all in the finals, and just an all-out war for who's going to win the champion.
And here we go. Zach O'Sullivan out front here in the top 16 battle between these two. Russell Jones chasing him down.
He sure is. Zach O'Sullivan out front in that Sim Magic Racing JC880 with Russell Jones right on his tail there in that GR86. Coming through down towards the decel zone now in through that inside clip. Zach here with a good proximity for that lead, with just Russell Jones keeping it there, but trying to get right up into that pocket on that door as they start to come down the hill now. One last transition to go before the wall ride. They're on it, looking good. Russell Jones, though, sticking right with Zach all the way to the finish.
And here we go, back to the replay of the first half of this top 16 battle between these two. Zach O'Sullivan in that Supra, initiating in nice and smooth. Big gap left in between them two, and Russell has to cut a ton of line in that chase position. He's back into the fight now, but sacrificing a ton of angle through that power LE section. But right there with him coming through this inside clip, closing the door slowly and slowly as they work up the hill. Now Zach doing what he needs to do in the lead, grabbing a little bit of that rumble strip, back down the hill here, up onto that one as well, and Russell right on the bumper and the door for this last and final turn.
Now back at the start gate, ready for the second half of their battle. We'll see how this one plays out. Russell Jones in the lead lane in the GR86, in the Sim Magic Toyota Racing Supra. In the chase lane is Zach O'Sullivan. Initiating in is Russell Jones, and looking good. Zach a little bit left behind there on the initiation as they come to that outer zone, but Zach regains that proximity now as they make the transition down the hill. Russell Jones keeping it straight and nice and tight as they come into that decel zone. Zach uses that to surge up and regain any proximity loss now on the door of Russell Jones. Russell Jones kicking up some dirt there out of that outer zone. They come down the hill now. Zach doing a good job keeping the car where it needs to be. Russell Jones out here just laying down the run of his life as Zach gets on the door here for the wall ride, and they finish out the run.
Now let's go back to it here. Russell Jones out front this time in the second half of the battle. Zach in that chase position in the Supra, leaving a bit of room there through turn 1. And Russell works his way through. Not quite grabbing that outside zone. Has to make a small correction there before making the transition across that inside clip. And then a brilliant correction there from Zach O'Sullivan in that chase position. Was a little bit on the inside, and then utilized that foot brake and handbrake together to really back that car up back into the correct line as they continue on here. A little bit on the inside there is Zach as well, working their way through that last and final turn. But we go to the judges. Winner moves on into the top 8. Zach O'Sullivan on the left, Russell Jones on the right, and it is Zach O'Sullivan gets the win, unanimous from all 3 of those judges. We'll see him later on.
And the championship fight continues as we move on to our next top 16 battle. Kazuki Fukushi in that chase position in Evo 10 up against current Rookie of the Year, Ebanks. They start their battle and see who's going to go up against Zach O'Sullivan as they initiate in. Wayne out front doing a good job off that initiation, but Kazuki looking a little more dialed now in that Evo as they transition down the hill. A huge surge, though, from Kazuki as they make the transition down the hill into that decel zone. They get through it. Kawain starts to pull away now from Kazuki Fukushi as they come up the hill, and a big gap established as they crest it and start making their way down it. Kazuki's trying to get back into that pocket and put on the pressure as they transition into that final outer zone onto the wall ride. Kazuki gets in that pocket, just doesn't have quite enough to get on the door.
Now let's take another look here. Kawain out front. The graphic a little backwards there, but that's all right. Kazuki in that chase position. And Tanner, you might have jinxed him there. It all was going very smoothly. Looked dialed and then gets unsettled in that chase position right there. Washes out wide. Gets back into it, but then just gets left behind by the GTR of Kawain Ebanks out front in that lead position. Kazuki in that chase, still quite a ways back there, starts to work his way back into the fight here. Last and final turn, Kawain doing what he needs to do in the lead position and across the line.
Well, now back around at the start gate, ready to go once again. Kazuki Fukushi now in the lead lane with Kawain Ebanks ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go for the second half of this battle. Kazuki initiates in. Kawain right there with him, gives him a touch though. Has to keep it together as they come around that outer zone. Kawain keeping that nice close proximity as they transition to the next inside clip. Now down the hill to that decel zone. Kawain doing everything he can to stick right with Kazuki's door as they start to push up the hill now. A little bit of a dirt kicked up there from that lead driver as they come and crest the hill. Kawain all over Kazuki. Maybe another tap there as they come down to the final outer zone along that wall ride, leaving a bit of proximity there, but a big surge at the end hitting Fukushi in his door.
Yeah, a little bit of a hiccup there to finish out the run, but we'll take another look at it here. Kazuki out front, initiating in nicely along the outside. It looks like a bump there, but there was quite a bit of space in between them two. Maybe a little bit of lag there. It's tough organizing these events when you have everybody from around the globe, and being from Japan, he is quite the distance away from the server. Unfortunate to see, but they keep things going, and as you pointed out, drops a little bit of tire there in the outside zone. Coming up that hill, they work their way back down, utilizing that rumble strip. There they go, picking up throttle, and a little bit of a surge there across that finish line. We go to the judges. Kazuki on the left, Kawain on the right. Winner moves on into the Great 8, and it is going to be Kawain Ebanks getting the win, moving on into the top 8. We'll see him later on, but a good fight from Kazuki today.
Very much so. So Kawain Ebanks goes on to face Zach O'Sullivan in that top 8. As we have our next battle here, Tikon Poleski up against Shoma Takaya. Tikon in that fresh auto S14. Shoma in the S14 180SX front end conversion. Initiating in is Tikon, a huge gap off of the initiation. Tikon with tons of speed. Shoma trying to get up there and get in that proximity range as they transition now down the hill. Looking good so far, leaving that room. Shoma, grazing the rear bumper of Tikon just a little bit there as they come through that next outside zone and transition up the hill. Shoma's now on the attack and all over Tikon Poleski as they start to come down the hill, leaving a bit of room now. Gotta do one more transition to the wall ride. Shoma tries to get it up on the door of Tikon, and he does, almost pushing him a little bit past the finish line.
Yeah, Shoma on a tear today as we take another look at this replay. First half of the top 16 battle between these two. Quite a bit of a gap established on initiation, but then Shoma doing a good job to reel Tikon back in. We know Tikon's fast. Smooth through that transition, flying through the course now, and yeah, I mean, super clean between the two of them there. They work back up the hill, filling these outside zones as Tikan grabbing the inside clips as well, doing everything he needs to in this lead position. Near perfect as we see Shoma almost over rotate there and then give Tikan a shove across the finish line.
Well, now back down at the start gate, ready to do battle once again. Shoma Takaya in that lead position. Tikan Poleski ready to chase him down. The lights go on, and the second half of this battle is underway. Shoma lighting up those tires down the straight, initiating in. Tikan right with them, though, as they come through that inside clip and out to the outer zone. Tikan on the quarter panel of Shoma Takaya as they transition to the next inside clip. Tikan trying to put on the pressure to Shoma, but Shoma's doing a very good job here in this lead position as Tikan manages to get back on the doors. They start to climb the hill and put that pressure onto Shoma. Coming down the hill, backs off just a little bit for this Tikan as they transition yet again into the final outer zone. Tikan leaving a good proximity and a little tap there at the end into Shoma.
Yeah, let's take another look at the second half here. This time with Shoma out front. Tikan chasing him down, going for that initiation. A little bit of a gap there, but reels him back in before outside zone 2. Sticks with him here through the power alley section, right along that bumper, across the inside clip as both of them. Nice and snappy transition there. Shoma a little bit wide of the inside clip, works up the hill. Tikan a little bit back, reels him in before the outside zone there at the top of the hill. Back down, filling that outside zone is Shoma Takaya all the way and into this last and final turn, and there they go across that finish line. We go to the judges. Tikan Poleski on the left, Shoma Takaya on the right. Shoma really bringing the fight to Tikan Poleski today, but is it enough after Tikan's perfect lead run? And no, Tikan Poleski gets the win over Shoma, but heck of a fight from Shoma Takaya today.
Yeah, Shoma completely on a tear. And now Tikan getting that spot and moving in. Our prediction is getting more and more by the second here as we move on to our final battle of the top 16. Luciano Canero up against Brandon Gardner. Luciano in that C6 rotary powered Corvette up against the NOS Energy Drink Nissan Z of Brandon Gardner. The light goes on and this battle is underway. Initiating in is Luciano. Right with them is Brandon Gardner as they start to come through that outside zone, and on the door is Brandon as they leave just enough room for that transition and a little surge there from that chase. Luciano doing good out here so far as they come into that decel zone. Look at that proximity, good distance, hitting his marks, doing everything he needs to do in that chase, and Luciano out front making this a little easier as he's doing a great job in this lead run. Transitioning now for the final time, a surge there and a hit from Brandon Gardner in that chase position, but it doesn't phase them and they finish out the run.
Yeah, a little shove there from Brandon Gardner in that last and final turn. We're seeing that a lot today as we go back to the replay here. Luciano out front doing a fantastic job in turn 1 there, all the way out onto that rumble strip in that outside zone, opening the door for Brandon Gardner. Nice and smooth by both of them. Now washing a little bit wide is Luciano in that lead position, bringing them both out to the outside. Again, a little bit of foot brake Luciano using there, going up the hill, filling that next outside zone. And there comes the surge from Brandon Gardner in that chase position. And there they go across the finish line.
Now back around at start gate, Brandon Gardner in that lead position, ready for the second half of the battle and ready to chase him down. Luciano Canero sitting there patiently. The lights go on in the second half of this battle, and the last battle of the top 16 is underway. Initiating in is Brandon Gardner. Luciano with him, though, on that initiation as they go through that outer zone. On the quarter panel is Luciano as they come through that next outer zone, almost going into the bumper of Brandon Gardner on the transition. They come down the hill into the decel zone, and a little hit there from Luciano in that chase position as they continue up the hill. Luciano putting on all the pressure onto Brandon Gardner, wanting to move forward. Brandon doesn't want to lose this either as they come down the hill, transition again into that final wall ride. And look at that, Luciano sticking there with them and keeping that proximity all the way to the finish.
Yeah, here we go to the replay. Second half of this battle. Brandon Gardner out front this time, being chased down by Luciano in that rotary powered Corvette. They work their way through turn one. You see Luciano a little bit on the outside there in that chase position, but it sets him up nicely for the transition to be on the bumper. Nicely done down here, but washes a little bit, gives a little shove from that chase position through that inside clip as well. They work up the hill, filling that outside zone. At the top is Brandon Gardner using that rumble strip on the outside, settling in nicely to the wall. And there they go across the finish line for their battle. Will go to the judges. Luciano on the left, Brandon Gardner on the right. Last and final battle here in the top 16. Winner moves on into the top 8. And no, it's not our final battle. We're lining them up again. It's a one more time.
Woo. I mean, I can agree with the one more time on this. That was so close between the both of them. So I'm always down for one more battle before we move on to the top 8. We just wait for them to drive back around to the start gate. Now it'll be Luciano Canero in that lead lane in that rotary powered Corvette, and the NOS Energy Drink Nissan Z of Brandon Gardner in that chase position. Out of the gate they come and off they go. And initiating in, looking good so far. Brandon right there with Luciano, keeping a good proximity as he starts to reel him in through that next inside clip and through the outer zone, leaving room for that transition as they come down the hill. Now into the D-cell zone. Brandon sticking right with Luciano. Luciano keeping it where it needs to be as he starts to climb his way up the hill. Now coming up to that outer zone, Brandon Gardner just putting it perfectly in that proximity gap, not completely on the door, but not too far away either as they get through this final outside zone, and a little tap there at the end to finish things off.
Yeah, starting things off similar to the previous battle between these two. We take another look at the first half of the one more time battle. Initiating in is both of them. Washing wide is Luciano, but filling that next outside zone. Gets around there, all the way out to that rumble strip, utilizing it all nice and tight to the inside clip. And a smooth D-cell, nice and tight to the inside clip. There is both of those drivers this time. Luciano again hitting that foot brake coming up the hill through that transition. They work back down. Brandon Gardner in that chase position, reeling him back in for this last and final turn, and there they go, finishing out the first half of their one more time battle.
Well, now time for the second half of the one more time battle. Brandon Gardner now leads with Luciano chasing him down. Let's see how this battle gets underway. Good out of the gate. Luciano already ready to put that pressure on to Brandon Gardner as they come off the initiation through that inside clip. Luciano is already all over that rear quarter panel of Brandon Gardner, transitioning now to the next inside clip. Trying to run away a little bit is Brandon Gardner, but Luciano is not giving up. Missed out on that inside clip just a little bit with a little tap there from the chase position as they come up the hill. Now to the next outer zone. Luciano is not giving Brandon Gardner any room for error as they come down the hill and transition to the outer zone and ride that wall all the way around to the finish.
Yeah, let's take another look. We might have another one more time after the second half of this battle. Just insane between these two. Brandon Gardner entering in right along that white line. Now Luciano does wash a little bit in that chase position, but he stays in the pocket of that car, sticking with him right along that rear quarter as they transition down. Brandon washing a little bit wide. He does get a tap, but I'd have to say he was already running wide for that inside clip anyway. Coming down that D-cell area here, they come down the hill now. A little bit of gap established. right along the bumper through the transition and into the last and final turn along the wall. And they finish it out. We go to the judges once more between these two. Luciano on the left, Brandon Gardner on the right. Winner moves on into the top 8. Our last and final battle again here in the top 16. And there it is. Brandon Gardner gets the win over Luciano Canero and moves on. We'll see him in just a bit in the top 8. And we'll bring up that bracket and look how it has unfolded. Alan Hines and Ernestes will battle each other next. Daniel Andreev and Robert Kavinsky. Zach O'Sullivan and Kawain Ebanks. Tikon Poleski and Brandon Gardner.
All right, looks like we have our battle coming up to the line. Pro Drift Academy driver Alan Hines in that S15 up against Ernestes Yakulovis in his S14. And here we go for the start of our top 8 battles. Alan Hines initiating in. Ernestes, so right there with him as they come into that first inside clip. Ernestes putting on the pressure and keeping on that door of Alan Hines through those outside clips. A big surge there off that transition, making it work as they transition now for that decel zone and make it a good job around it. As Alan pushing up the hill, gaining a bit of proximity onto Ernestes as they start to move their way down the hill. Alan pulls a little bit there, a little tap on the rear bumper from Ernestes as they come into that final outer zone and ride that wall all the way to the finish.
Yeah, let's take another look at it here. Alan Hines out front in our first top 8 battle, first half of it between these two. Ernestes chasing him down and doing a good job through turn 1. Alan could have been a little bit deeper on those outside zones. Remember, judges want to see him use those rumble strips. Nice and snappy transition into the decel area though. Grabs that inside clip, utilizing that rumble strip there for that outside zone. Staying off of it for the inside clip and using all of it there at the top of the hill. They work their way back down. Ernestes right along the bumper through that last and final transition. A little bit on the inside, but that's common there in that last and final turn.
Yeah, it's starting to be that way as we have them back at the start gate, flipped around, ready to go. Ernestes Yakulovis in that lane. Alan Hines ready to chase him down. Let's see what happens in the second half of this battle. Igniting the tires all the way out of the start line and initiating in. Looking good from Ernestes. Alan Hines right there with them, matching that angle as they come through that inside clip into the outer zone. They set up for the transition. Good proximity here from Alan Hines as they come down into that inside clip. And looking good there from Ernestes out front as well. Alan Hines makes the transition up the hill, keeping that proximity onto Ernestes, but Ernestes holding a very good lead run here. Almost a little easy there for Alan to follow close behind as they come into that final outside zone. Alan and Ernestes side by side as they finish out.
Yeah, absolutely insane between these two. Ernestes out front in the second half of their battle. Alan giving chase and maybe a little bit more aggressive there in the very beginning of that turn. But then very similar out front is Ernestes. Now actually grabs a little bit of that rumble strip as he should. Super snappy there, down across that inside clip, and then smooth decel right along that track edge through that big decel area. Here they come up the hill right along that track edge, trying to get out to that rumble strip, doesn't quite get to it. Back down the hill, grabs a little bit of that. Alan right there in that chase position. He falls back just a little bit and then reels him back in. And there they go across that finish line. We go to the judges. Alan on the left, Ernestes on the right. Winner moves on into the final four today. And there it is. Alan Hines gets the win over Ernestes, but what a battle Ernestes put up against Alan Hines.
Very close battle indeed, as we now have our next top 8 battle at the line. Robert Kavinsky in that 370Z up against Daniel Andreev in his S15. Who will go to face Alan Hines in the finals? The lights go on and this battle is underway. Down the straight they come, and initiating in is Robert Kavinsky. Daniel is doing a good job on that initiation as well, keeping up on the door of Robert Kavinsky as they come through that outer zone, leaving the room for the transition. Now through that inside clip, cutting the line a little bit. There was the chase driver of Daniel coming through that inside clip. Look at that, good proximity, good line from that lead driver. Daniel trying to keep up and keep in that pocket as they come down the hill now. Good proximity, leave the room for the transition. One more outer zone to go along the wall. Daniel pushes up, gets the door, and they finish out the run.
Yeah, let's go to the replay here. Robert out front in this important battle against Daniel Andreev, initiating in right along that white line, and you see Daniel wash out a little bit in that chase position, but stays in the fight somehow, keeps things going right along the bumper of Robert's car there through that transition, as well as that one coming down into that decel zone area. Picking up throttle is Robert. Nicely done through that section of the course, up the hill. Now a little bit on the inside and shallow there for that outside zone. Back down the hill, grabbing a little bit of that rumble strip again is Robert out front, picking up throttle. Could have been a little deeper there at the beginning, but works it back out to the outside.
Sure does. And now back around at the start gate for the second half of this battle to go see who will face Alan Hines. Daniel Andreev in the lead position. Robert Kavinsky ready to chase him down. The light goes on and off they go for the second half of this battle. Initiating in, Daniel to a good angle, but a huge hit from Rob out front as they almost knocks Daniel off course as they come through the next outer zone. Now Robert is going to have to do a lot of catch up here as they transition into this outer zone, but it looks like Daniel's just all out of pace now from that hit, trying to maintain an average speed as he misses out on that inside clip after the decel zone. Robert manages to get back on the door of Daniel as they transition one more time to the final outer zone. And on the door is Robert, but will it be enough to make up for that huge hit at the beginning?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one here. We take another look on the replay. Daniel Andreev out front, initiating in. Was dropping quite a bit of speed, but was it too much speed to put that fault onto Robert? I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks like Robert maybe coming in a little too hot. And then there as well, grabbing a piece of the bumper, I think, from that lead position before making that transition, which really sent Daniel on a ride there through that decel zone. We'll let the judges maybe take their time looking over the replays. They may have a decision already though Let's go to them. Daniel Andreev on the left, Robert Kavinsky on the right. Winner moves on into the top 4, and this could end Robert's day, and it does. And Daniel Andreev gets the win over Robert Kavinsky, and that may just do it for Robert's championship run here today in the final round here at Jyllands.
Wow, as we said, upsets can happen at any time, and now Robert Kavinsky is out of the running. So now we'll see what Zach O'Sullivan, the current points leader, can do in that Sim Magic Toyota Supra up against Ebanks, the current Rookie of the Year. The light goes on and this battle is underway. Zach has to move forward to keep his place as the #1 points holder. A tap from Kawain there as he came out of that first inside clip. Looks like he lost all grip, but then regained it back as he starts to come through that inside clip. Now transitioning to that D-cell zone. Looking good here out front from Zach O'Sullivan. Ebanks just trying to stick with them. A few corrections from that chase position as he now starts to keep that proximity into the final wall ride and outer zone of the course. Zach sick right there with him, but 2 more hits from Kawain as they finish out the run.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit too much aggressiveness from that chase position. Kawain Ebanks in that GTR, as you see him wash that front just a little bit and give Zach a tap. Zach continues on, doesn't quite get out to that rumble strip for outside zone 3, but tight to that inside clip. Very smooth D-cell area as well, tight to the inside clip. Works up the track here with Kawain back into the fight. Almost over rotating, has to get back out of it in that chase position. Sticks with Zach O'Sullivan down the hill. Last and final transition. They settle in nicely to the wall together, but then that little surge there and a couple little taps from that chase position.
Well, here we go for the second half of the battle and to claim another spot in the finals for today. Ebanks in that lead position. Zach O'Sullivan ready to chase him down. The light goes on and the second half of this battle is underway. Kawain out front, lighting up the tires on that R35 the whole way down, initiating in. Zach O'Sullivan sticking with him as they come through that outer zone. Maybe not as close in the proximity to the first few clips as they transition now through the next inside zone. And one more transition before the decel. Zach regains that proximity in that lead position. But Kawain doing a good job out front here, trying to keep that car where it needs to be. But Zach is on the attack now as they come down the hill into the final transition. Who will take this home? Will it be Zach? Will it be Kawain? They're on the door. Zach keeping a good proximity as they cross that finish line.
Let's go back to the replay here. Kawain Ebanks out front this time in the second half of the battle. Zach O'Sullivan in that chase, initiating in nicely, picking up throttle. A little hesitation there, but you see Zach back in that chase position, leaving a lot of room on the table in between them two, even through the power alley section, coming up off of outside zone 3 early, and then back into the fight here through that inside clip, falling back a little bit again, but right along the bumper for the transition. They work their way up the hill here, back down it along that inside clip, up onto the rumble strip. Last and final transition here. Zach settles in nicely with him, and there they go across that finish line. We go to our judges. Zach O'Sullivan on the left, Kawain Ebanks on the right. Winner moves on into the final 4 here. And it's going to be Zach O'Sullivan getting the win over Kawain Ebanks. Just a little bit too aggressive in that chase position was Kawain, I think, is what's going to do it.
Yeah, that's my thoughts as well as we go to our final battle of the top 8. In the Fresh Auto S14, Poleski. In the NOS Energy Drink Nissan Z, Brandon Gardner. Poleski will lead this first run, and we'll see who will go to see Zach O'Sullivan in the finals. The lights on down the straight. They come initiating in is Poleski. Brandon, though, keeping up with them through that initiation as they come through the outer zone and through that inside clip. Now Brandon's starting to keep that pressure onto T-Con, keeping that proximity there as they transition. Almost on the bumper was Brandon Gardner as they come through that inside clip and start to push up the hill. Little struggle there for grip as Brandon kind of bobbles in that chase position, but T-Con, just like a rocket ship out front, the robot is back. Let's see this final outside zone. Brandon right there on the door of T-Con as they finish out the run.
Yeah, Brandon bringing the fight to T-Con Poleski there in that chase position, but T-Con doing everything he's supposed to be doing in that lead position. The robot, again, yeah, as you pointed out, might be back here as he works all the way out to that rumble strip. Very nicely done, filling that next outside zone, tight along the inside clip. Good transition down there through that D-cell area of the course, up along that rumble strip. Brandon right there in that chase position, though, right along the bumper as they make these transitions. Sacrifices a little bit of angle here and there to stay with that fast car of T-Con Poleski. There they go, settling into the last and final turn and across that finish line.
Well, back around at the start gate, they are flipped around. Brandon Gardner in that lead position. T-Con Poleski ready to chase him down as they start the second half of this battle. Who will see Zach O'Sullivan in the final? Will it be Brandon? Will it be T-Con? Initiating in is Brandon Gardner. T-Con, though, initiating with them. Getting close, gives them a touch, though, coming into that outer zone as they come through into the next outside zone. Transition for the inside flip. T-Con trying to attack here as they come down and into this the D-cell zone. T-Con on the door of Brandon Gardner and falling just in behind him there on that transition as they start to climb the hill. T-Con gets on the door yet again of Brandon Gardner, gives Brandon another tap there as they come down the hill and into the outside zone. Brandon, long time on e-brake, but T-Con's not upset by it and stays on the door to the finish.
Oh man, what a battle between these two. Brandon Gardner out front in the second half of this battle on the replay here. T-Con Poleski on the right, initiating in. T-Con reeling him in quickly, but Brandon filling these outside zones, grabbing the inside clips. A little tight to that one. Doesn't quite get all the rumble strip there for outside three. But nicely done here down through the D-cell area of the course. Does wash a little bit wide. He could have been a little closer to that rumble strip, and there a little weird early transition from T-Con Poleski in that chase position, but then gives him a shove there coming down the hill and settles in nicely to this last and final turn, door to door, crossing the finish line. We go to these judges. Brandon Gardner on the right, T-Con Poleski on the left. Winner moves on into the final four. They will have to face Zach O'Sullivan, and quickly T-Con Poleski getting the win over Brandon Gardner. What a battle between those two. Fantastic showing from Brandon today. Congratulations to him, even though he's getting knocked out by T-Con here. Just a good job overall by him. And there it is, that top 8 bracket down to the final 4. Alan Hines and Daniel Andreev up next, and Zach O'Sullivan and T-Con Poleski. And here they come to the line.
All right, and looks like our first of the final battles is at the line, ready to go. Pro Drift Academy S15 driver Alan Hines up against Daniel Andreev as they come down and get ready to initiate in. Looking good so far from Alan Hines out front. Daniel, though, already on the door of Alan Hines as they come through that outer zone and transition now to the next inside clip, matching his angle beautifully. Little bit off there from the chase driver, but Alan Hines scoots that S15 into that inside clip perfectly as they come up the hill now. Daniel on the attack and not leaving any breathing room there for Alan Hines as they come down and transition into the wall ride. Daniel gets on that door and is wheel to wheel with Alan Hines before the finish.
Yeah, bringing the fight to Alan Hines in that chase position is Daniel Andreev, but Alan Hines once again doing what he's supposed to be doing in that lead position. Picks up throttle nice and tight to the inside clip. Could have been a little deeper there for outside zone 2. Grabs a piece of that rumble strip there, 4-3, and then all the way out there for 4. Nicely done here in this decel portion of the course, and Daniel Andreev getting a little mixed up there, but makes a good correction to stay in the fight. Back onto the door of Alan Hines out front, continuing on down the hill all the way up onto the rumble. Last and final transition, and Daniel settling in nicely with Alan all the way up against that wall.
And now back around at the start gate for the second half of their battle. Daniel in that lead position, Alan Hines ready to chase him down. Who goes to the third place battle? Who moves on to the final battle of the evening? We're about to find out. Initiating in is Daniel. Right with them though is Alan Hines, matching that angle beautifully as they come through that inside clip and make their way down towards that outer zone, giving a lot of room there for the transition was Alan Hines as they come down and into this decel zone. Alan Hines gets back on the door of Daniel Andreev. They start climbing up the hill now. Alan is all over the door of Daniel as they start making their way down the hill now. One last outside zone to navigate. Alan Hines tries to get back up, does get on the door of Daniel and keeps proximity all the way down.
Yeah, here we go with the replay between these two. Second half of our first top 4 battle here. Daniel Andreev out front, and look at there, Alan aggressive off the rip, right along the door, almost pushing him through turn 1 there and out of it. Gets a little mixed up, falls back quite a bit there in that chase position, but then right back onto the bumper and then the door through that inside clip. Here they go, working up the hill. Daniel all the way out to the track edge, doing a fantastic job out front here. Back down the hill, using that rumble strip, and then right along the bumper is Alan in that chase position, applying the pressure. And across that finish line we go to the judges between these two. Alan Hines on the left, Daniel on the right. Winner moves on to the final battle, and it's gonna be Alan Hines getting the win over Daniel Andreev, but we'll see Daniel here shortly in the third place battle.
We sure will, and this prediction is almost coming true. So now we always talk in the top 32 about loving to see the 16-17 battles because those two are always really close. What about the second qualifier and the third qualifier? Zach O'Sullivan in the Sim Racing Magic JZA80 Supra up against the Fresh Auto S14 of Tikon Poleski, initiating in for the final spot in the finals. Looking good from Zach so far. Tikon right on the door though as they come through and make that transition. Stick Tikon maybe with a little touch there to the fender as they make the transition a bobble as they come through from that chase position, that decel zone, and now they start climbing the hill. Zach is on a tear, but Tikon is all over Zach at the moment, not giving him any space to breathe. Cracks off heavily for the transition into the wall ride. Zach makes his way around it, but Tikon is touching his wheel and leaving a little bit of proximity at the end.
Yeah, let's take another look at it there. Sim Racing Magic out of that Sim Magic Supra is Zach O'Sullivan. Continuing on, look at there, using all of that rumble strip. Tikon in that chase position right along the bumper of that Supra in that chase position, but Zach on a tear here through his lead run, doing everything he needs to, using these outside rumbles all the way out to the track edge there. But look at Tikon bringing the fight to him, trying to shove him down the hill there out to the outside zone. Last and final transition, picking up that throttle and across the finish line for the first half of their battle.
Well, now back at the start line and ready to go again. Tikon Poleski in that Fresh Auto S14 in the lead lane, and in the Sim Magic Racing JZA80 or Sim Magic, yes, JZA80 of Zach O'Sullivan giving chase. Initiating in is Tikon Poleski with tons of angle off that initiation. Zach sticks with him though and stays close by with that proximity, leaving enough room for that transition as they start to make their way down the hill. Now into that D-cell zone through that inside clip. Zach keeping a good job here just to keep that proximity there. And as they climb up the hill, Zach's right there on T-Con, mimicking him perfectly down this hill as they come through and make the transition for the final push here on the wall ride. And look at that, just perfect the whole way around, no mistakes at all.
Yeah, maybe grabbing a little piece of that wall there before crossing that finish line. We'll take another look. T-Con out front in that S14. Zach closing the door quickly as they work their way through a turn one. T-Con pulling away a little bit through that power alley section, flying through the course. Nice and snappy. Goes a little wide for that inside clip. Here they go, working back up the hill. Zach right on the bumper, reeling him back in at the top of the hill, staying with him down it, not causing any contact there, right along the bumper for the last and final transition of the course. T-Con right along the wall, and yeah, a bit odd there, crossing that finish line, but we'll go to the judges. Zach O'Sullivan on the left, T-Con Poleski on the right. Winner goes to the finals and will face Alan Hines. Could this decide the championship as well? If T-Con moves on into the finals, will that give enough points to Alan to then take the lead over Zach? It will be close if that comes down to it. Or we'll see Zach face off against Alan, number 1 and number 2 in the championship, and watch him battle it out for that final position.
It's gonna be close.
A lot of one more times in the chat. The chat filled with one more times here. And there it is. Chat gets what they want. It's going to be a one more time. They're going to line back up here in the final four.
Holy moly. You guys wanted a final round, and we're giving you a final round. Every battle has felt like a final battle. And as some of you said in chat, if I was a judge, yeah, I'd just leave too. I could not imagine.
Right, you guys just sort it out on your own. Just figure it out.
just walk out. Well, we'll wait for the return for this amazing one more time battle and potential championship deciding battle. Zach O'Sullivan in the Sim Magic Toyota Supra in that lead position. The fresh auto S14 of T-Con Poleski ready to chase him down one more time. The light goes solid and off they go. Down the straight they come, grabbing gears, initiating in. T-Con matching the angle through that initiation as they come through that inside clip all over the door of Zach O'Sullivan. Now coming through that next outside zone, a little, maybe a tap there from T-Con Poleski as they went to transition. They slow down, make their way through that D-cell zone and get back on throttle. Coming up the hill now, T-Con on the attack. Zach O'Sullivan looking perfect out there as they come down the hill, leaving that room for the transition. T-Con almost going into the back bumper again into Zach O'Sullivan and just putting it on the door to finish it out.
Yeah, T-Con trying to end Zach O'Sullivan's day with that chase run. We take a look at the replay. Nicely done by Zach here in turn one, getting up on the outside rumble here as well. T-Con right there in that chase position, though, applying the pressure everywhere. And it is close there, but I think he tucked in behind him nicely. They keep things going the way they should. Didn't really upset the run. Here they come up the hill. Zach staying off the inside rumble, grabbing the outside, staying off the inside, grabbing the outside, doing what he needs to do. And then look at their last and final transition right along the bumper. And there they go across the finish line.
Back around at the start gate, we're ready for the second half of this one more time battle. T-Con Poleski in the lead lane, with Zach O'Sullivan ready to chase him down. Who goes to see Alan Hines in the finals? Coming down the straight, both of them lighting their tires up and initiating in. Looking good off the initiation. Zach's mimicking the lead driver perfectly as they come through that third outer zone, and now they transition forward down the hill. Look at that, right along the bumper with Zach O'Sullivan. Oh, I thought there was going to be contact coming into there, but Zach manages to hold on to it and stay right on the door of Tikon Poleski to climb up the hill now. Right along the door is Zach going wheel to wheel with Tikon before the transition. One more outer zone to navigate. Here they come through the wall ride, and look at that right there. We don't need a final battle. It's this good.
Here we go back to the replay. Tikon Poleski out front, initiating in, holding that outside for quite some time, picking up that throttle and doing what he needs to out front. Zach right there with him though, right along that bumper, reeling him in through this power rally section down to that D-cell area where they both do a nice job there. Tikon watching a little bit for the inside clip. Here they come up the hill, filling that outside zone. Tikon could have been a little bit deeper there. Here they come down the hill with Zach just right into the door of that S14. They continue on in the final turn, and across that finish line we go to the judges. Winner goes on to the final battle to face off against Alan Hines. What a battle.
Ooh, I'm out of breath.
Oh, and do we have a decision here? It's split. Chris goes left for Zach. Ed goes right for Tikon. It all comes down to Matt. And Matt goes left. Zach O'Sullivan goes to the finals to face off against Alan. And we've got a championship battle on our hands for the final bout.
Wow, but before we get to that wonderful action that is going to be for the championship of this season of VDC, we do have to line up Tikon Poleski and Daniel Andreev back to the line to see who will take home third place today. Wow, chat, I hope you're as excited as I am about these battles that have been happening. This has been an absolute ride through this whole day. All right, and back around at the start gate for the third place battle. The Fresh Auto S14 returns with Tikon Poleski in that lead lane, and ready to chase him down is Daniel Andreev in his S15. And here they go. Initiating in is Tikon. Daniel, though, right there with them, mimicking Tikon through that first inside clip and out to the outside zone. Now down to the next outside zone. Transitioning. Daniel late on that transition, hitting that bump, but it's not upsetting the run as we see him come through that D-cell zone and back on throttle. Up the hill now. Look at that, just matching Tikon no matter where he goes. Daniel is on a tear here, but Tikon's lead run is almost perfection as they come into this final outer zone. And on the door, and a little tap there as they finish out the run.
Yeah, let's take another look at it here for this third place battle. The first half of it, Tikon Poleski out front, leading Daniel Andreev through this course and doing a good job of it, filling that outside zone. Maybe could have been a little bit deeper, that then works all the way out there for that rumble strip. And Daniel getting a little mixed up there in that transition, as you pointed out, but matching the angle there through that D-cell area with Tikon going a little bit backwards coming into that inside clip. They continue on filling that outside zone at the top of the hill. Daniel right there with him in that chase position. Last and final transition right along the bumper and almost pushing Tikan through this last and final turn.
Well, now back around at the start gate and ready to go again. Daniel Andreev in that lead position. Tikan Poleski ready to chase him down. Off they go for the second half of this battle. Who's going to take home third place today? Initiating in. Tikan already on the charge from that chase position, putting on the pressure onto Daniel Andreev as they come through that outer zone. Transitioning down now to that inside clip to the D-cell zone. Good transition by both of them. A little farther inside is Tikan trying to keep up with Daniel as he climb up the hill. Now up to the top here. Tikan is all over Daniel, but it's almost the same as the last run. This is going to be a hard one for the judges to decide as they come into that out zone. The final one, Tikan on the door, but no contact made by the end.
Yeah, let's take another look here. Third place battle, second half of it. Daniel Andreev out front. Tikan applying the pressure quickly here in turn one right after that initiation and stays with him all the way through turn one. Daniel doing a good job out front though, filling these zones, grabbing that inside clip there. Nicely done for the D-cell portion of the course, picking up throttle early and then driving through that inside clip and out to that outside zone. Nicely done coming up the hill as well. As he works his way back down, filling these outside zones. Tikan applying the pressure in that chase position right there, settling into the door. And across that finish line we go to the judges between these two. Winner takes home third place for the final round here at Jyllands-Ringen. What an event it has been. What a season it's been. The show that these drivers have put on for us each and every event is absolutely insane. Chris chooses Tikan Poleski. Ed goes Tikan Poleski. Tikan is going to get the win unanimously over Daniel Andreev and take home third place, but great job by Daniel.
So now into our final battle of the evening and our championship decider. The final battle is Pro Drift Academy S15 Alan Hines up against Sim Magic Toyota Supra of Zach O'Sullivan. This is the final round here of this season of the Virtual Drift Championship, presented by Sim Magic, Tire Stack, Script Royal, Next Level, and Yoka Design. As they initiate in, Alan Hines ready to go on that initiation. Zach O'Sullivan right there with them though as they come through that inside clip. Look at that as they dive through on the door with Zach through those first few clips as they come down the hill now. Going into that D-cell, Zach gets right on the door of Alan Hines. Alan Hines putting it where he needs to be though as they transition up the hill. Coming up now, Alan Hines sinking with it. Zach O'Sullivan not giving him any breathing room. A little bit here for the transition. One more wall ride to go as they come around. And Zach a little bit farther behind, but finishes out the run clean.
Yeah, he sure does. We'll go to the replay here. Final battle. First half of it, Alan Hines throwing that S15 in, and Zach doing a good job to reel him in quickly. Alan could have been a little bit deeper for outside zone 2. He grabs that rumble 4-3 though. They continue on with Zach right along that bumper, making the snappy transition. Alan washes a little bit wide there, drives that car back into that next outside zone nicely though as they work up the hill. Alan has been using all of that rumble all day today. Back down the hill they go. Last and final transition, Zach a little bit on the inside, works that car back to the outside and across the finish line.
So here we go, ready for the second half of this battle. Will it be decided? Will we go one more time? Only time will tell. Zach O'Sullivan out front, Alan Hines chasing him down. This is for the championship. Smoking the tires all the way down the straight, initiating in. Alan Hines throwing a little too much angle, had to pull back out of it to match the angle of Zach O'Sullivan as they come through. A bobble there from the chase position as they come through and transition down to the next inside clip. A surge there from the chase position and a little wider than what Zach was, but now on the door is Alan Hines onto Zach as they transition up the hill. Zach is on a tear here, but Alan Hines is giving them no room to breathe. It's on the door through that whole hill section. One last transition to go, the final one of the evening. Here it is along the wall. Alan's on the door as they finish out that run.
Oh my goodness. Let's go back to the replay. Zach O'Sullivan out front, being chased down by Allen, and Allen over-rotating a little bit there, but does a good job to keep things going. I think Zach was a little bit on his foot brake. Maybe he's settling into a little bit less angle than what he wanted as they continue on with Alan Hines applying the pressure, maybe dropping a little bit of tire back there through that decel zone, but it doesn't matter. He keeps things going right along the bumper, pushing Zach up the hill here, filling the outside zone as Zach, but getting pushed back down the hill from Allen. Last and final transition, settling in nicely, maybe a little bit nicer, but gives him a shove. And there they go across the finish line. We go to our judges. Alan Hines on the left, Zach O'Sullivan on the right. Winner takes home first place, and possibly first place for the season as well, as the qualifying may have shooken things up with Alan qualifying first, Zach qualifying second. But it's going to be really close, so we'll have to get confirmation on that. We've got our decision. Alan Hines takes the win over Zach O'Sullivan. He's going to take home first place today in the final round over Zach O'Sullivan. But how will that play out with the points? We'll pull up the bracket as we get confirmation from our staff on who wins the championship today, as it's so freaking close.
The pro standings right now, and they have been updated.
Have they been updated?
They have been updated.
How close was it, Tanner?
Well, I can tell you by a mere 13 points. 13 points is all it took to win this championship. And I can tell you who it is. Now, this person has been around for quite a while. They're a good person. And the winner of this season of the Virtual Drift Championship is Zach O'Sullivan.
Wow. Absolutely insane. Congratulations to Zach O'Sullivan. Alan Hines does again get the win here in the final round, but again, overall position, Zach O'Sullivan gets the win. And here they go for their traditional three-man train. Alan Hines out front, Zach O'Sullivan in the middle with T-Con Poleski giving chase. Hopefully Zach can keep all those doors and stuff closed for this run this time and keep it clean. Here they go. Oh no!
Got a little messy at the end there.
That's what Zach gets for opening all his doors, ruining the clip. But fantastic job by all of the drivers all season long. This year has just been absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think this has been the closest round we've ever done, the closest season we've ever done, and the drivers have taken the level even from last year to this year and just turned it up to 11, ripped the knob off, and threw the amp over the ocean. Just absolutely unreal, speechless season. Every round was just so intense and crazy.
It really was. We'll pull up that bracket once more and see how that final four broke down. Alan Hines winning the round. Zach O'Sullivan taking second. T-Con Poleski back in third. Back on the podium is T-Con Poleski. But overall standings, Zach O'Sullivan by 13 points takes the win over Alan Hines. Robert, did he still end up third position today? I believe he did.
Robert did stay in third position.
Awesome. Congratulations to Robert as well. We've got a ton of prizes that we'll be announcing over the couple of days. We might have to figure something out with the Sim Magic stuff and Zach taking home the championship, as he's already got wonderful support from a wonderful company, and that is Sim Magic. And really has stepped up his driving ever since he got that stuff as well. Same with Maxime Tingai, really stepping things up after grabbing a Sim Magic Direct Drive as well. They are fantastic products, and these drivers got some of those products on the way for them. But yeah, that's gonna wrap things up for the season, Tanner. Again, it's bittersweet. Super fun layout to really close things out this year.
It definitely has been, man. And like I said, these are always the bittersweet moments, because now I know it's back to the real season of racing, and I don't get to chat with you almost every Saturday. But, you know, I always appreciate everybody coming in, tuning in, watching. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media, including Instagram, including Facebook, even here on YouTube. Like and subscribe to the video. And then come follow us on Discord. Who knows? Maybe some cool stuff will happen. Not saying anything will happen, but I'm just saying it's a cool place to hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some fun things planned over the summer for the pro drivers to participate in, as well as maybe some of the public. Well, we've got some updates to our public cars coming as well. This track will be getting a release as soon as it's done. Still some things to be worked out. The pit over here on the left isn't done, and a couple of other things here and there that need to be completed. Some track lights added so that we can run this sucker at night, as well as Wall, New Jersey. That is going to be public as well. I know a ton of people continue to ask about that, but as we've repeatedly said multiple times now, that it is going to be completed once released once it's completed. So again, be patient with that. You know, it's getting a free release out to everybody. So we ask for your respect and letting us take our time in completing that track before we release it out to the public. But thank you everybody for tuning in this whole entire season. This round, if it's your first round tuning into, we hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you over the summer and into the next season. Big shout out to our sponsors, Sim Magic, Next Level Racing, Tire Stacks, Grip Royal, Yoga Design, and big shout out to Rocky MP4, providing just a ton of awesome content to us, really all season long. And to the rest of our staff as well. Dial's joining us as well, providing us with that ridiculous drone content that we're going to try and work in to the live stream for next season. And again, the rest of the staff, Dion in the background making all these graphics work, and Carl as well making all the graphics work, helping out with the servers. Carl, Matt, and Chris, all three of those judges showing up to every single round and being as fair as they possibly can. I know a lot of people don't think they are, but they, again, try to be as fair as they possibly can and call it the way they see it. And I think they do an absolute fantastic job with this level of driving. It's so difficult to judge these rounds, how close these battles are and how perfect these insane drivers are.
Couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like I'm going to, let's get Zach O'Sullivan down here in the chat to have a little chat with us. Congratulate him on his win. All right, Zach O'Sullivan, once again, congratulations, man, on your season victory for season 7.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just want to say thank you to like all my sponsors and everyone that was always helping me out like through the entire season. People like Ryan Literal, of course, really good friend of mine, always training with me and nitpicking the little stuff and really pointing me in the right direction. And huge thank you to Sim Magic for like supplying me with all the great gear that I use, and Extreme Sim Racing for giving me a great rig that I can attach all this awesome equipment to and compete at the highest level virtually amongst the best virtual drifters in the world. And yeah, I'm super happy that this is my first championship in VDC, and hopefully not the last.
Yeah, well deserved. Did you do anything different this season from last season?
Yeah, I mean, well, everything's different, and you know, I have a whole new setup. Every piece of equipment besides the rig is new for this season. And then obviously car-wise, we did some big changes with the mechanics overall in the car, and you know, we had new tires and stuff like that. So I had to adjust all that with tuning and things like that. So I made a lot of changes to my driving style, into my execution of getting the car to feel the way I want it, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, a lot has changed, and it worked out for the better. So it was worth it. It's awesome.
Yeah, definitely seemed to pay off. You won season 7, man. Again, congratulations. You've got some stuff on the way. We'll have to figure out what exactly you're going to be getting, but you've got some stuff on the way. Again, well deserved, and hope to see you back next season. Anything else you want to put out there before we let you go?
Oh, you know who I'm going to thank. I'm going to thank Dale Earnhardt Sr. for giving me the strength today. Today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Dale Sr. He gave me the strength to get through today.
Awesome. Well, happy birthday, Dale. And again, congratulations to you, Zach. We'll see you back over the summer and hopefully into next season. So again, that is going to do it this season. Anything you want to put out there, Tanner, before we close it out for the last time?
I mean, man, it's just been such a wild ride this season. I can't, you know, I've always loved working with you guys, and will always stick working with you guys as long as you guys want me around. And you know, heck, it's ending. This is the only problem with the condensed season. I don't want it to end. I want to keep coming back. You know, but summer's here, and all the real world racing kicks in, and all the real world commentating. So you know, we got to go back to doing that. But just thank you to all the fans. We can't do this without you guys. So thank you guys for always being here, talking in chat. There's some of you who I recognize every single event, who's always talking in there. And some of the discussions you guys get into, you know, you make me laugh. I have to mute my mic sometimes. Like the judge thing today was just absolutely hilarious. I'd just walk out if I was a judge. Amazing. And, you know, I love everybody here. And, you know, super proud to see Zach get that championship. If people don't know, when I ran the feeder series, Zach was one of the winners from that feeder series. So to see him go from somebody who never thought they could, you know, be in competition to now winning the VDC, it's absolutely heartwarming to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he always really had it in him. It just took a little bit of dialing it in. And here he is winning the championship in the condensed season, 6-round season. Every single round was that much more important. Alan missing a round and still coming in second, really putting up a fight against everyone in the rounds that he did attend. But nonetheless, Zach comes out on top, winning the championship. What a season it's been. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. But this is us signing off. We appreciate all of you, and we'll see you back shortly.